Welcome to Kikao,
a revolutionary talk show that is changing how people think and look at agriculture in Africa.
This is the particular variety that is suitable.
We will seek to demystify GMOs.
Kikao is a platform where African agriculture takes center stage.
seeds, just which is which.
From seasoned farmers to thought leaders, they direct us toward a future in which livelihoods thrive and nations prosper.
It became possible to move genes from unrelated organisms.
Kikao, every Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. only on NTV.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optivan family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optivan. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optivan, Optivan.
It's the opening of the NBA season. How you like me now? 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 How you like me now?
Akaniambia hii mkebe pia ni kitu ya kuringia.
Hawezi linganisha mtoto wangu na gari.
I had to come up with something to get more of his money. I've done worse things more than lying to you that I'm pregnant.
Human behavior experts, of course relationship experts, have proved that there's a thin line between love and hate.
Hii love will go so deep even that will go willing to raise. Who is this person?
My best friend's dad.
Kuna huyu beste yangu tumekuwa marafiki.
Alinipia bili ya hospitali. Nikaona ya kwamba ni rafiki yangu wa kitu cha kwanza kabisa.
Anajua side chicks zangu.
Side chicks.
Yeah.
The pressure and expectation on Bayern Munich to win never eases. Even after winning 11 straight Bundesliga titles, the expectation and the pressure never lessen. They only go even higher. But as Bayern Munich strive to make it an even dozen titles this season, perhaps the pressure and expectation have become too much.
And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Did you know cervical cancer is the leading cause of female cancer-related deaths? This is one cancer that can be 100% prevented and cured if diagnosed early. National Cancer Institute has taken action to accelerate prevention, screening, diagnosis and treatment of cervical cancer as per World Health Organization call to action to eliminate cervical cancer by 2030. Join us tonight for a panel discussion from 8 to 9 p.m. live on NTV. Let us join efforts towards a cancer-free nation.
On the show this week, we focus on the women. They are seen as the face of agriculture on the continent. But just how much do they get out of it?
They do all the production. They worry about what everybody else is going to eat. But they are kept away from decision making. We are marginalized in terms of education. And then it starts there, and then at a tender age, she's getting married at 14 years of age. She's already seen as she can't contribute much.
Most often they are marginalized groups with very limited access, although they play a critical role in terms of food security and nutritional security at the household level and at the community level.
Stay 5 degrees cooler.
Body odor is caused by germs, and on active days, the sweating and odor are more. That's why you need the
people fear that artificial intelligence is here to take their job. How true is that?
AI is something that will not take your job, but a person using AI will.
Even when we use AI to generate content, if this is generated by human beings, there is a little bit more authenticity and also relatability.
What we do, we buy the vehicles for the online taxi drivers. It's very difficult for them to access credit. So we've been able to make it very easy for them to access this credit. And at the end of the day, get an employment, and at the end of the day, get a livelihood.
Dad, what made you decide to become a doctor?
Because my father needed one. And you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be happy like you.
Life insured is love assured.
This is NTV.
Kama ilivyoada kila siku ya Jumatatu, mimi niko hapa kukupasha taarifa ambazo tunakuandalia siku nzima. Mimi Frederick Mwitiriri ninazo taarifa kemkem ambazo utazipata kutoka kona zote za nchi tukufu ya Kenya. Lakini kabla ya taarifa hizo ni muktasari.
Tumetolewa na maji kutoka kule mpaka tumekuja hapa. Saa hii tumeanza square one. Hakuna chochote hapa.
Athari za mafuriko ya El Nino yaendelea kuathiri wanafunzi wa shule ya Imani iliyoko Tana River. Sasa wamelazimika kusomea chini ya miti.
Wakitujengea barabara kama hiyo, wasitutoze ushuru wowote.
Usafiri kutoka kisiwani Mombasa hadi Likoni kurahisishwa, huku ujenzi wa daraja ukitarajiwa kuanzia hivi karibuni.
Alitoka tu nyumbani akiwa ametumwa dukani, lakini hakurudi.
Msichana wa miaka 20 abakwa na kisha kuuliwa eneo la Kinare, kaunti ya Kiambu. Na mzozo unazidi kutokota baina ya gavana wa Nairobi Johnson Sakaja na madiwani wa kaunti. Kisa na maana, mabilioni ya pesa ya ushuru.
NTV Jioni na Frederick Mwitiriri.
Saa moja juu ya alama, taarifa tunazianza hivi sasa, lakini upande mwingine wa studio ni Bi Atieno. Kivuli cha miti, nje peupe, tena upepo unapovuma bila kizuizi chochote, ndipo wanapopaita darasani. Wanafunzi na walimu wa shule ya msingi ya Imani huko Garsen wamelazimika kuishi kwa hali hii kutokana na mvua ya El Nino iliyosomba na kusambaratisha maisha yao ya kawaida na kuwalazimu kuhamia humo. Sasa wamesalia na ombi moja tu, kwamba serikali wape msaada angalau kwa kuwajengea madarasa mapya kufanikisha masomo yao. Tazama.
And I want to say this for the avoidance of any doubt. We have released in the last 1 month 62 billion Kenya shillings money for primary school.
Na hapa ni shule ya msingi ya Imani iliyoko Gamba, eneo la Garsen. Kwa vyovyote vile, wanaonekana hela hizo nazo zizungumzia rais, aidha ziliwafikia zikiwa finyu sana, au serikali haijui iwapo kuna shule zilizoathirika na mafuriko. Kwani
tunataka kuuliza serikali yetu ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, tunataka waje wakimbilia hii mahali, shule yetu ya Imani. Watoto wanahangaika, walimu wanahangaika.
Ikiwa ulikuwa umewazia kuwa hapa pengine ni soko, la, hii ni shule kwanza ya msingi.
Let us read the first answer.
Wanapoondoka nyumbani na kuelekea shuleni, wanafunzi hawa hufika eneo hili wazi ambalo wameliita shule baada ya mafuriko kuwakumba wenyeji wa hapa.
Sisi zamani tuko na shule, tuko na kila kitu, na tumetolewa na maji kutoka kule mpaka tumekuja hapa. Saa hii tumeanza square one. Hakuna chochote hapa.
Kilichofuata ni hali hii tunayokumbana nayo, ambayo ni ya fedheha, haya na soni kubwa kwa nchi inayojivunia masomo ya bure. Hapa ukosefu wa vifaa vya kuwafundishia wanafunzi umewalazimu kufundisha wakiwa wameangaliana, kila moja kwa mgongo. Mbali na kelele ya walimu kwa mwingine, kuna kelele zitokazo nje.
Gari ikipita, ile concentration ya mtoto inapotea. Yeye anaangalia gari ikipita, anaangalia pikipiki zikipita.
Sio wanafunzi tu ambao wanateseka. Hii ndiyo afisi ya walimu. Ni chumba kidogo ambacho kinaweza kutoshea tu mwalimu mmoja au wawili, na sasa wamekifanya kuwa chumba cha kuhifadhi vitabu. Wanapotaka kusahihisha vitabu, walimu wamefanya eneo hili kuwa afisi yao. Walimu hapa na viongozi wa shule wanaonekana kufika mwisho wao.
Sisi tunaomba Machogu akimbia aje hapa, na yeye aje ajionee vile wanafunzi wanateseka, wanahangaika na walimu wao.
Tunakaa hapa siku nzima, maji hakuna, so inabidi mwalimu ajibebe pengine chakula yake ya lunch, abebe maji, na mazingira ni kukaa chini ya mti kwa hicho kivuli kidogo. Tunakaa bali, mji uko bali kidogo, na kutoka kwenye huo mji walimu wanakaa kufika hapa, inabidi mwalimu kila siku alipe shilingi kama 200 kuja, shilingi 200 kurudi.
Walimu na wanafunzi wanasema sio mara ya kwanza kuhama kutoka kwa mafuriko, lakini sasa wamefika ukingo wao, na wanasema katu hawataondoka hapa, na kuongeza kuwa hawana uwezo wa kuitisha wazazi hela, kwani wanaishi kwenye hema na hela walizopata kutoka kwa serikali hazitoshi.
Tunaomba ASAL, Ministry of ASAL ikuje iwajengee temporary classrooms hapa ndio watoto wapate kusoma.
Mwishowe wanafunzi lazima wasome. Frederick Mwitiriri, NTV.
Natarajia kwamba wanafunzi hao watapata msaada. Bado haijabainika ni watu wangapi waliokuwa kwenye basi lililohusika kwenye ajali ya barabarani mapema Jumatatu eneo la Otho huko Nyando, kaunti ya Kisumu. Ajali hiyo ilihusisha basi na abiria na lori, huku watu 11 wakiripotiwa kuaga dunia na wengine wawili wakiuguza majeraha mabaya katika hospitali ya mafunzo ya Oginga Odinga huko Ukusa. Anaripoti.
Walioshuhudia wamesema basi hilo la kampuni ya Super Metro lilikuwa linaelekea Mombasa, na kwamba huenda dereva wa basi hilo ndiye aliyesababisha ajali.
Kwa mwendo wa saa 8:30 za usiku tulisikia kelele, tukafika hapa, tukakuta hapa watu wameumia, gari wamegongana na lori.
Dereva wa lori alikuwa peke yake kwenye gari lililokuwa likisafirisha mpunga kuelekea mji wa Ahero. Yeye na dereva mwenza wa basi walifariki papo hapo. Wakazi hao baadaye walijumuika na polisi kutoka kituo cha polisi cha Ahero katika shughuli ya uokoaji.
About 10 people, and of which one was a little child about 5 to 6 years, also died on the spot.
Bithua amesema kuwa bado hawajabaini jumla ya idadi ya abiria waliokuwa wakisafiri katika basi hilo.
We were able to rescue from the wreckage 39 persons.
Kulingana na msimamizi msaidizi wa afya kaunti ya Kisumu, Ibrahim Wanyande, abiria 12 walipata majeraha madogo na kutibiwa na kuruhusiwa kuondoka.
Tumewapatia 2 weeks, that is 14 days. Waweke bumps hapa Otho. Kama sivyo tutafunga hii barabara na kuna watu
huko Kusa. NTV.
Mtazamaji, uchunguzi umeanzishwa kuhusiana na mauaji ya msichana wa miaka 20 aliyepatikana akiwa ameuliwa na kisha mwili wake kutupa msituni Kinare huko Lari, kaunti ya Kiambu. Inadaiwa kwamba msichana huyo alitoweka nyumbani kwao wiki 2 zilizopita. Mwandishi wetu Martin Mwaura na mengi zaidi.
Jamaa za binti huyu wanasema kwamba alitoweka alipotumwa dukani na hakuwahi kuonekana tena.
Alipotea wiki kama 2 zilizopita.
Baada ya habari za mwili wa msichana kupatikana msituni, wanasema alikuwa na dalili za mateso.
Lakini naona kama ni kurepiwa, juu hana hata nguo.
Wakazi hata hivyo wameelekeza lawama kwa msitu huu wanaosema umegeuka kuwa wa matukio ya uhalifu.
Juzi tulikuwa na kijana mwingine aliuliwa kwa ile boma, aliuliwa. Wakati huu kuna mwingine ambaye ako hospitali na ako kwa ICU Kenyatta. Juu ya hii kama msitu.
Sasa wanataka serikali kuingilia kati na kutoa suluhu, kwani wanasema wamefika mwisho.
Kitembea hapa ndani utakuta suruali ya wanawake imejaa hapa, nguo za wanawake za ndani. Kwa hivyo hii kama msitu huwa kanatuletea shida.
Nimekasirika sana juu tumekuta mtoto ameuliwa hapa na ni vibaya sana.
Akithibitisha kisa hicho kwa njia ya simu, kamanda wa polisi eneo la Lari Adamson Furaha amesema uchunguzi umeanzishwa ili kubaini aliyetekeleza unyama huo, huku mwili wa mwenda zake ukipelekwa katika chumba cha kuhifadhi maiti cha Naivasha. Martin Mora, NTV.
Mtazamaji, mzozo unazidi kutokota baina ya gavana wa Nairobi Johnson Sakaja na madiwani. Chanzo cha mzozo huo ni mabilioni ya pesa zinazokusanywa kupitia mfumo wa zamani wa kukusanya ushuru almaarufu Nairobi Revenue Service. Mfumo huu ulizinduliwa kupitia ushirikiano wa serikali kuu kupitia mamlaka ya KRA na kandarasi yao ilifikia kikomo baada ya kuondoka kwa NMS, lakini kulingana na madiwani, Sakaja ameendelea na mkataba huu na hata kuwashirikisha maafisa kutoka KRA bila kupata idhini ya bunge la kaunti. Sine Chazima ana maelezo zaidi kuhusu mvutano huu ambao unatishia kuipotezea kaunti ya Nairobi mabilioni ya pesa.
Kaunti ya Nairobi katika mipangilio yake iliendelea na mkataba wa Nairobi Revenue Service NRS, mfumo ambao ulikuwepo wakati wa tume ya kitaifa ya huduma za jiji NMS. Hii ni licha ya mkataba huo wa NRS na KRA kufikia kikomo. Wakati wa kuchukua uongozi kutoka kwa NMS, gavana wa Nairobi Johnson Sakaja alidai kuwa serikali ya kaunti sasa itasimamia ukusanyaji wa ada na ushuru, lakini wakati huo mipango ya mfumo mpya wa ukusanyaji haukuwepo. Hivi Sakaja akalazimika kuendelea na mfumo huo wa NRS. Lakini kufikia mwezi wa Disemba mwaka uliopita, malalamishi na mapungufu kwenye mfumo huo yaliibuka na kukwamisha shughuli za ulipaji ushuru. Mnamo Januari tarehe 4 mwaka huu, Sakaja aliandikia KRA barua akitaka maafisa 9 wakuu waje kusaidia kulainisha jukwaa hilo la NRS, barua ambayo madiwani wanadai Sakaja aliandika bila idhini kutoka kwao. Madiwani wamepinga vikali mfumo huu wakimtaka Sakaja kutafuta mfumo mwingine na kudai kuwa huenda fedha zinafujwa kupitia mfumo huu wa NRS kwa misingi kwamba unashughulikiwa na watu wasiojulikana.
As a system of finance, are you aware where our servers are? No. Have you not seen the color of those servers? No. The place where they are kept? No. The chief administrator, have you ever met him? The current chief administrator of this system, have you ever met him as a system of finance? Who is
I don't know
the power to protect our resources?
I don't know who the chief administrator.
You don't know. Have you met the PS for ICT to discuss on the system NRS before? Where the narrative surrounding its domicile in ICT? Have you met the CS, the PS?
Yes, we've had one meeting with the PS. It was a courtesy where we agreed that going forward we should have technical teams to...
Did he confirm to you that he's the one hosting our system?
I didn't ask him that.
Sakaja aliyapinga madai haya huku waziri wa fedha wa Nairobi Charles Kerich akisema kuwa mkataba huo na KRA utawekwa paruanja wiki zijazo, kwani tayari maafisa wa KRA walikuwa wanawashughulikia jukwaa la NRS nje ya afisi za kaunti ya Nairobi.
Confirm you have not yet paid any rental for any officer outside the county government? I confirm, sir. And there's no any framework towards that so far before your desk? None has been to your attention.
Kiongozi wa wachache katika kaunti hiyo Anthony Kiragu amepuuzilia mbali madai haya ya madiwani, akidai kuwa vita vyao vina msukumo wa wawekezaji wa kibinafsi wanaotaka kurejea katika biashara hii ya kukusanya ushuru na ada nyinginezo. Kati ya madiwani hawa, tetesi zinadai kuwa kunao wanaotaka jukwaa la zamani la Jambo Pay lirudishwe na kunao wadau wanaotaka kaunti itafute huduma za kampuni ya Safaricom. Katika miezi 6 iliyopita, kaunti hiyo imekusanya shilingi bilioni 3.6 ikilinganishwa na shilingi bilioni 2.6 katika mwaka wa fedha wa 2022 na 2023. Kamati ya muda inayochunguza swala hili inatarajiwa kuwasilisha ripoti kamilifu mbele ya bunge la kaunti hii wiki ijayo. Sydney Chazima, NTV.
Kwa taarifa hiyo yake Sydney Chazima, tunachukua mapumziko mafupi, lakini nikupe yajayo. Rais anza ziara nchini Italia, atahudhuria kongamano kati ya nchi hiyo na mataifa ya Afrika.
Welcome to the Delight Nakuru, brought to you by Username Investments. Perfect for your dream home investment for holiday home, going only for 799,000 shillings for an eighth of an acre. SMS Nakuru to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
The moment I feel my pain starting to fade, it's like I'm going back to myself on a really good day.
Panadol Extra releases you from strong pain. Panadol, release starts here.
People come to me and they say they get discomfort when they have ice cream. Can you imagine that? Avoiding having cold ice cream. Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optivan family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optivan. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optivan, Optivan.
Karibu tena mtazamaji, tuendelee na taarifa zetu za NTV jioni, lakini kabla hatujaendelea nikupe taarifa ambazo tumekuwa tukifuatilia siku nzima. Baadhi ya taarifa hizo ni hii: kumekuwa na ajali kule eneo la Nyando ambapo watu 11 waliaga. Mapema tulikuwa tumeelezwa ni watu 17 na niposa tumeandika hapo hivyo, lakini watu zaidi ya 27 wanaelezwa kwamba wamejeruhiwa vibaya. Taarifa nyingine ambayo tumefuatilia siku ya leo ni kwamba ni taarifa hii ambayo nilikupa hapo awali: watoto wanasoma wakiwa chini ya miti sababu kulikuwa na mafuriko mwaka jana, yameathiri shule yao na sasa wameanza kusomea chini ya mti. Wanaitisha msaada kutoka kwa serikali. Taarifa nyingine ambayo tumefuatilia kwa karibu sana ni kwamba Rais William Ruto ashaondoka humu nchini, yuko Italia kwa mkutano ambao ni wa Afrika na nchi hiyo. Taarifa nyingine ni hii, ni kwamba kipute cha AFCON kinaendelea usiku wa leo. Wenyeji Cote d'Ivoire watakuwa wakipigana na Senegali. Kipute kikubwa ambacho tunakitazamia. Tuendelee na taarifa zetu. Ujenzi wa daraja la kutoka kisiwani Mombasa hadi Likoni unatarajiwa kuanza baada ya serikali kuweka makubaliano na nchi ya Japan. Mradi huu unaokisiwa kugharimu zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 50 utakuwa kivutio kikuu Mombasa na hata kuchangia kuboresha uchumi wa ukanda wa pwani na hata kote Afrika ya Mashariki. Huyu hapa mwanahabari wetu wa pwani Kevin Mutai na taarifa zaidi.
Mwaka 2019 serikali ya Jubilee ilitia saini mkopo wa shilingi bilioni 53 na shirika la JICA kutoka Japan ili kufanikisha ujenzi wa daraja kuu la kutoka kisiwani hadi Likoni. Januari mwaka huu, waziri wa uchukuzi Kipchumba Murkomen naye pia akaweka makubaliano na shirika hilo kufanikisha miradi tofauti ikiwemo daraja hilo. Ni daraja ambalo wizara hiyo inasema litakuwa ndefu zaidi, kilomita 1 likipita juu ya bahari Hindi. Ujenzi utaanza eneo la Kingorani kwenye barabara ya Lumumba na kupita juu ya kituo cha shirika la reli, barabara ya Moi Avenue hadi eneo la Ganjoni. Litapinda kulia na kuelekea hadi Liwatoni. Kutoka hapo litapita juu ya bahari Hindi na kutua Likoni karibu na shule ya msingi ya Javi la wageni na kuungana na barabara kuu ya Dongo Kundu eneo la Ziwani.
So ukiwa unaenda Ukunda mfano, badala ya kusitema hapa ferry direct to Ukunda watumia kama dakika 15 abiria atakuwa shafika.
Myself as a person, when I think about going to Likoni, the ferry just kills the whole morale of going. So it is a good project if and only if it will materialize, because that's the question.
Litakuwa na sehemu ya magari na nyingine ya watu kutembelea. Daraja hilo pia litakuwa na sehemu yenye mita 69 ili kutoa nafasi ya meli kuingia na kutoka bandarini Mombasa.
So naomba kwamba wazingatie tu ile mambo yao ambayo walituahidi wakati ya kampeni kwamba wakitujengea barabara kama hiyo wasitutoze ushuru wowote.
Mradi huo wa mabilioni ya pesa utaathiri sehemu mbalimbali kama vile barabara ya Moi Avenue, Machakos, Lumumba, Mnazi Moja na hata Mtongwe huko Likoni. Kadhalika vifaa vya umeme na mawasiliano, vituo vya kupakua samaki na shule zipatazo 7 za umma pia zitaathirika. Asilimia kubwa ya makazi yatahamishwa kisiwani, hasa katika mtaa wa Majengo, ikisemekana kuna zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 8.7 ambazo zimetengewa fidia kwa watakaoathirika.
Compensation should have started anytime from June of last year. Until today, there's been no communication. The only thing we see is reports on the newspapers, and we have no idea what is happening. At the same time, we were told we can't sell our property because the data has been taken. So we're just there. We don't know what's happening. We're just in the dark.
Mpango wa ujenzi wa daraja hilo ulianza mwaka 1984 ukitazamiwa kuitwa kivuko cha Likoni, ila hadi sasa imechukua miaka 40 kukumbatiwa. Daraja hilo litachangia kuinua uchumi wa pwani ya Kenya, sekta mbalimbali kama vile utalii zikitarajiwa kunawiri. Inatazamiwa pia kuwavutia watu zaidi kutafuta makazi, hasa mitaa ya Likoni na kuondoka kisiwani, kwani sasa hawatakuwa wanategemea pakubwa feri kuingia kisiwani.
Mradi huo utakapokamilika utamaliza msongamano katika kivuko cha Likoni na vilevile kubadilisha sio taswira ya kaunti ya Mombasa bali hata ukanda mzima wa pwani ya Kenya. Kevin Mutai, NTV katika kaunti ya Mombasa.
Kutoka Mombasa sasa tuelekee Italia. Rais William Ruto Jumatatu amehudhuria kikao cha baraza la wakuu wa Italia na Afrika mjini Roma. Rais alipokelewa na waziri mkuu wa Italia Giorgia Meloni. Mkutano huo wa siku 2 unalenga kuimarisha uhusiano na ushirikiano kati ya Afrika na Italia. Ajenda za mkutano huo zinahusu maeneo mbalimbali ya ushirikiano, ikiwa ni pamoja na usalama wa chakula, utamaduni, elimu, mafunzo ya ufundi stadi, maendeleo ya kiuchumi na miundo mbinu, pamoja na juhudi za pamoja dhidi ya biashara haramu ya binadamu na ugaidi. Mkutano huo ambao mada yake ni daraja la ukuaji wa pamoja utashuhudia ushirikiano wa marais 20 kutoka barani Afrika. Tazamaji, hali ya sintofahamu bado inazidi kushuhudiwa katika hazina ya serikali, baraza la mawaziri na tume ya mgao wa mapato CRA kutokana na fedha ambazo wanapendekeza kaunti zote humu nchini kupata. Katika mkutano mchana kutwa katika makazi ya naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua, hii leo mkutano uliisha bila nafasi sahihi wala msimamo sawa. Inaripotiwa kwamba baraza la magavana linataka kupata bilioni 450 kutoka kwa hazina ya serikali. Kwa upande wake, hazina ya serikali inataka kutoa bilioni 391 kwa magatuzi. Tume ya mgao wa mapato CRA inapendekeza bilioni 398 kunradhi kutolewa kwa magatuzi. Magavana wanapendekeza mapato ya hisa usawa bilioni 439.5 kati ya zile walizopendekezewa bilioni 450.
Wish to emphasize our commitment to the timely disbursement of funds to counties. We are nearly up to the date for December 2023. Despite this, I strongly urge you to fast-track payments of pending bills. Indeed, we should not be having pending bills for the last financial year. Prompt payments for goods and services releases funds to our business people and spurs economic growth, especially the hustler nation, for a better and vibrant economy. Let money circulate.
Kaunti 33 ambazo zina maktaba ambazo zinafanya kazi na kuna mshahara wao ambao haujatufikia. Ukiangalia tunapokanda katika makavadhi ama museums, pale pia nao unapata kwamba ni jambo ambalo limegatuliwa lakini fedha zake bado hazija. Kwa hivyo tunapendekeza na tunaitisha na tunasema kama counties bilioni 450 ndizo zinatosha ili tukaweza kuendeleza kazi za county pasipo na shida nyingi.
Mtazamaji, shaona Makori shajaja kwenye studio zetu tayari kukuletea taarifa nyingi ambazo amekuandalia za spoti. Lakini kwanza tuingie kwenye mapumziko na yajayo. Kwenye kipute cha AFCON, Senegali watachuana leo saa 5 usiku na wenyeji Ivory Coast.
Welcome to the Delight Nakuru, brought to you by Username Investments. Perfect for your dream home investment for holiday home, going only for 799,000 shillings for 1/8 of an acre. SMS Nakuru to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
Dad, what made you decide to become a doctor?
It's because my father needed one. And you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be happy like you.
Hey!
Within life, we have moments. Within moments, we have each other. At Prudential, we believe that when it comes to those you love, never leave it to chance. Leave it to us. Life insured is love assured.
New Nivea Luminous visibly reduces dark spots. Does it really work? Trust me. For post-acne marks too? Of course. World's #1 anti-spot expert serum, now for post-acne dark marks and age spots. Visible results in just 2 weeks. That means also for my age spots. Already worked for over 1 million women. Nivea Luminous 630. It works.
It's Friday and things are looking a bit boring. Fanta. Submit to the fizziest of fizz. Surrender to a bubbly bliss. Fall for the tangiest of tangs. Succumb to the flavor frenzy. Fanta. Indulge with a sip and snack.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Makinika sasa tuipepete nyugani haraka upesi. Nita Yoshua Makore. Klabu ya Al Azizia ya kaunti ya Meru inadhamiria kushinda taji la FKF la Mozart Bet iliwakilisha Kenya katika dimba la mashirikisho la CAF msimu ujao. Al Azizia iliingia raundi ya 32 kwa kuitema nje Luanda Villa iliposhinda mabao 4 kwa 3 kupitia mikwaju ya matuta baada ya sare ya bao moja katika muda kawaida huko Kinoru. Tusikie walisema nini.
Mwanzo nitasema ilikuwa pressure nyingi. Game umeiona imekuwa very physical. Inaonekana lazima tena turudi pale tupige gym kweli because tumeona huku kuendelea huku juu mambo si rahisi, but vijana wangu tactically umeona ni wazuri, na nikiangalia vijana wakipewa bit of support vijana wanaweza enda mbali. So leo tumecheza na tulikuwa tunachezea baji ya Meru kwa sababu Mozart Cup sisi ndio team peke yake kutoka Meru. So nimefurahi kuona tumeng'ang'ana kabisa mpaka ikakuwa tumechukua.
Malengo ni yapi katika hili kombe?
Tunaenda mpaka mwisho, kila hatua dua. So kwetu tunajiamini, kila hatua tunasema tutaitayarishia vile inakuja. So si tuko tayari mpaka mwisho, ikiwezekana tunawakilisha Kenya, kwa nini isiwezekane?
Mimi naona hii team in 10 years if coming ama 5 years coming, tunajiona sisi tuko Premier League ni juu. Sisi hapa Meru ndio tuko na mafans wengi. Ndio sisi tunaitikagwa. Kuna timu zingine pia sisi tunataka Meru julikane.
Kwa majina naitwa Abdul Bethwell, na Al Azizia imekuwa timu nzuri kutokea kwa County League mpaka mahali tumefika saa hii Regional League. Yeah.
Nini kinawasukuma kuja kuiangalia?
Pengine ni kulingana tu na kujituma kwa vijana. Vijana wamejituma kuanzia mwanzo na wana malengo, na pia ukiangalia upande wa coaching imekuwa vizuri mpaka mahali tumefika.
Kwa majina naitwa Eric Mudhuri. Mimi ni kamanda wa mashabiki wa hii team, na kwa miaka 5 ijayo Al Azizia itakuwa Premier League, trust me. Ni vijana wanajua ball. Kwa leo tumecheza, tulikuwa tumebeba baji ya Meru County kwa Mozart Cup. Hii ndio the only team and we think we've really made our county proud.
Nini huwa kinawapa msukumo mnakuja kwa wingi hivi, mnafuata nyayo za kina Shabana, Gor Mahia, AFC?
Kwa sasa ukiangalia ile orodha ya timu zenye mashabiki wengi, sisi nambari 4 Kenya mzima. Kuna Gor, kuna AFC, kuna Shabana, alafu ndio kuna sisi. Vijana wanajua ball, ndio sababu tunawafuata. Hatuwezi fuata watu to disappoint.
Mshindi wa dhahabu wa mashindano ya dunia ya ndondi yaliyofanyika Belgrade, Serbia mwaka wa 78 katika uzani mepesi wa fly, Steve Mushoki amewashauri wanaspoti wa sasa kuweka nidhamu mbele pamoja na bidii ili kufanikisha ndoto zao. Tusikie naye alisema nini.
Vijana na wasihi wawe ni wasichana, wawe ni waume. Siku hizi wasichana pia wanacheza pro, wanacheza boxing, wanaingia ni ile bidii. Usifuatilie coach wako bila anakueleza. Tafuta yako binafsi. Kama ni maroad work, sio lazima uamshwe asubuhi ndio ukimbie. Kimbia kwa vile sasa uko na kwako. Labda unaishi kivyako. Kocha hata kuja ukuamsha. Unaamka mapema, unaenda unakimbia. Kama ni gym, unaenda wewe unajipeleka. Sio lazima ufanye nini. Nataka wewe mwenyewe binafsi, unajitolea wewe binafsi.
Moja kwa moja hadi Ivory Coast, na ni kwamba mabingwa watetezi wa kombe la taifa bingwa barani Afrika Simba wa Teranga Senegali watachuana na wenyeji Tembo wa Ivory Coast katika uwanja wa Charles Sekonane Banyi kuanzia majira saa 5 usiku. Nao ndo hayat.
Asante sana mwanajeshi. Mimi Frederick Mwitiriri tukiwa na Bi Ateno tunasema kwaheri kwa sasa, uwe na siku mwanana. Taarifa zinaendelea mwendo wa saa 3.
This is NTV.
Step up to more fun and get more than you pay for. Upgrade now and get boosted to the next package for free. Dial *423# or call 0711 066 000 and upgrade to the next level for free.
And we need 2 Royco cubes because iron gives you strength to skuma yourself to be the best you can be.
I trust Sunlight 2-in-1 washing powder to give my clothes a sensational clean and an uplifting fragrance. Sunlight. More than you expect.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
NTV, turning on your world.
One of the biggest conversations that was in the tech world in 2023 and even right now is artificial intelligence and just how it's disrupting nearly or virtually every other industry we know today. Today, you don't need to have us news anchors and reporters in studio to bring to you news. You can easily do that by feeding it into artificial intelligence tools and systems to be able to give you a full bulletin and so much more. But today, particularly, we are focusing on the AI disruption in advertising. This and so much more on Takeover, the only show in East Africa that discusses all matters technology. My name is Brian Jojotieno. Welcome. You're right on time for your tech feed. First off, this is what happened in the Tech Week, just in case you missed it. Here then is the tech news of the week. Uganda-based motorcycle ride-hailing and delivery company Safe Border is set to resume operations in Kenya next month, 3 years after it shut down its operations in the country. Safe Border closed its operations in Kenya in November 2020 at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic to focus on its successful operations in Uganda. The company had taken a major hit after the pandemic put transportation to a near halt due to movement restrictions, including the months-long dusk to dawn curfew. PesaLink has announced that it will soon have a merchant payment option to rival Safaricom's Lipa na M-Pesa. The news comes after Safaricom's customers expressed concerns due to the over-reliance on the M-Pesa feature, which has been suffering periodic outages in the recent past. At the point of sale, a buyer will not need to transfer funds from a bank account to a mobile money account. Buyers will be able to pay sellers straight from their bank accounts. All public service vehicles, PSVs, insured by Direct Line Assurance will have to switch to cashless fare platforms, including M-Pesa, as the insurer moves to curb fraudulent claims coming from injuries and deaths to passengers. Direct Line, which has the largest share of PSV insurance business, has issued a circular to all operators of matatus it has insured to make the shift effective 1st of February, in a move that also offers a revenue boost for banks and telcos that support cashless payments. The insurer says it has developed a passenger manifest system that will be used when verifying third-party claims. The manifest will be used to offer evidence that people making claims related to injuries or death were indeed in the vehicles involved in the accidents. Uber reported a 71.3% increase in airport trips in August 2023 as riders jetted off to destinations near and far. The demand for business trips on Uber for Business saw a 10.96% year-on-year increase, with 9 a.m. being the most popular time for business trips and 5 p.m. emerging as the most popular time for day trips requests. Uber Eats data revealed that American and African cuisines were the most popular, with vegetable spring rolls, ugali and steamed rice being the most requested side dishes. The most ordered meals on Uber Eats in 2023 were KFC's Streetwise 2 and 3, followed by the full Java House breakfast, according to the data. The most common times for delivery orders were 7 p.m., 6 p.m., and 1 p.m. Very well. Now you're up to speed with what happened in the tech world. Time now for that discussion about artificial intelligence and the disruption it's causing in the advertising sector. I'm here with two communication experts, Adam Ukubi and Stanley Onyango. Join me. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Very well. Both of you are self-confessed enthusiasts of technology. So I gather you're well versed with the issue about artificial intelligence. But for the person who's hearing this perhaps for the very first time, Stanley, how would you break it down to them to understand artificial intelligence from the very basics?
So to boil it down, artificial intelligence is actually computers trying to simulate human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's by learning and acting on their own to accomplish certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So by that you can categorize them by the capabilities. So there is narrow AI that is very specific, that I think most of us, actually the whole world is versed to. And the next one is it's about general AI that is now trying to simulate exactly what a human being can do. So it's multi-layered and can do basically what every other human can do on an intellectual, and some might say also on the physical plane. And now the one that is, I'd like to say it's the farthest one, the aspirational one, is superintelligence, AI superintelligence that has surpassed human intelligence. Yes.
Adam, let me come to you now. For somebody who perhaps thinks that AI is so far-fetched for them, there are very simple interactions with AI that we face on a daily basis. For somebody who wants a crash course or an introduction to AI, how would you tell them that this is something you interact with and this is actually AI assisted? How do you make it relatable to them? What is one of those things that they use that is AI assisted but they don't notice?
So I would like to use an example where people probably just go to Google.
Yeah.
If you want to find out information about something,
Yeah.
you probably Google how to make chapatis
Yeah.
on Google. So when it comes to AI, a lot of people are using it on their day-to-day activities, especially in terms of their work areas. So this is you probably will use AI to understand strategies. If you want to incorporate a strategy in your organization, you'd probably go and ask AI, I would like to do ABCD for my organization. How am I supposed to go about it? So I'll differentiate it in that way, in that if somebody has to go to Google, then it's more of just finding out what something is. But when they go to AI, it's sort of like a direction on how to go about it.
Great. Stan, one of the last ones as we come towards the end of this introductory session, or rather crash course into AI. So people fear that artificial intelligence is here to take their jobs and it's here to to render them redundant and such kind of a thing. How true is that?
AI is something that will not take your job, but a person using AI will. AI makes people at this point extremely productive.
Yeah.
Especially in advertising right now, generative AI is all the buzz. Now you see images being created, you see text, you see captions being created, which were over the past years
unheard of,
and they were like human jobs. But right now, a person who is using AI can generate an image, can generate a poster, can generate a cool Twitter caption that is very captivating, and so it's just up to us to adapt, and it's a wave that I feel that has come and we have to ride it.
We have to ride it.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Ada, let me come back to you.
Okay.
So we are seeing a lot of companies, blue chip companies no less, using generative AI to bring up images for advertising, captions, messaging, and all that. As a marketing professional, how do you reconcile that?
I think I would agree with what he just said,
Yeah.
that it's something that is here to stay.
Yeah.
So it's something that we need to adapt. It's
Mhm.
not something that we need to fight.
Mhm.
So I will say that number one, there are things that AI can do
Yeah.
that a human being is likely to do better.
Yeah.
You know, so even when we use AI to generate content, if this is generated by human beings, there's a little bit more authenticity and also relatability. For instance, if I see an image that has Brian on it, I'm likely to relate to it and even be encouraged to consume whatever services or products that are being advertised, as opposed to something that I cannot relate with. The other thing is that we can also use AI because it will offer consistency in terms of the kind of content that is being generated, so that our audience, our target audience, is likely to hear the same thing consistently in a different way. That way there is a lot of brand retention in your services and products, assuming you're advertising something. Use of AI also risks misinterpretation sometimes, you know. You can use AI to talk about something, and your audience, your target audience, might misinterpret it. This is a conversation that we've had previously, that we are seeing some advertisements that are likely to be advertising a paper, and you interpret it as a pen. So
Yeah.
you're not so sure what is being advertised in this particular instance. And then AI can also use, because there's a lot of data that is being generated through AI,
Okay.
you can use that for data-driven messaging, so that you're giving specific audience a specific amount of information that they actually need. There's also the issue of cultural sensitivity. AI does not really understand the different cultures that we have in different societies. So there's a sort of advertisement that you might advertise in Kenya that might not go well with Kenyans, but if you do the same advertisement in Tanzania, it is okay. So I'm not so sure if this is something that AI can really differentiate and say, if you ask AI, please generate content for Tanzania, they know that this particular information suits, Tanzania. And then there's also the issue of cost effectiveness and efficiency. If AI can also help us to advertise things while also saving on costs, as opposed to just doing things the way we've been doing traditionally.
Still staying with the issue of influencers, actors, and the people we know to be on the billboard, to be selling us whatever consumables we use. Do you think they stand to lose gigs, Ada?
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why they're called influencers in the first place. These are people that our consumers are related to, These are people that when we look at them, probably they are people we've lived with in the same estates, they're people we've gone to school with. So these are people that are likely to influence our day-to-day activities. So number one, when we use influencers for advertisement, it's easier for them to give us personalized experiences. So if I'm advertising a soap, for example, I will give an influencer the soap, they can use it, and then they can give us feedback and say, I have used this soap and this is what I have learned so far, or this is what, exactly. As opposed to AI. So I'm just thinking that we are not able to have that kind of collaboration with AI, but influencers can now use AI to develop strategies for themselves, so that now they're also taking advantage of this particular, disruption to improve on themselves. The other thing I would also talk about is that there's a lot of engagement that takes place when we use influencers, especially with our consumers. So if an influencer is, let's say, influencing a product, they can have engagement with our desired audience. Somebody can send a DM and ask, tell us more about ABCD, things like that. When it comes to AI-generated content and things like that, I'm not sure if people can have that sort of conversations with the influencers. Influencers will create relatable content. So brands should not take advantage of AI alone without collaborating with influencers and forgetting the traditional marketing as well. There should be a lot of balance between the two. Brands can use AI if they feel they want to probably save on costs that they might, probably they feel an influencer is too expensive. However, there's a line that should be drawn in between where there's a balance, so we don't lose the relatable aspect of a brand.
Something to add, Stan?
So something to add about that is, So another good thing about like creating images like text to images, where you can put text and it gives you an image. So let's say a cat flying over KICC. You can get an image quite specific. Quite specific.
Yeah.
Image.
What an example.
Quite specific, an image about that.
Yeah.
But then again, we should take a bit more time in designing better prompts.
You touched on cost cutting as a mechanism of managing your marketing costs.
Yeah.
Again, you're a marketing professional. So you are we are seeing a place where companies are not going into creating all these rigs and contracting an agency to reserve a whole street in filming this advert or this commercials for a company. They just sit down and say, we are using this image like Stan has just illustrated here. We are going into an AI tool and generating an image. I know you've touched on the effectiveness of this, but just how can companies strike that balance? Because I've seen a couple of companies in Kenya that have used a blend of both, a blended way of AI and of course the normal advertising as we know it, striking that balance and achieving the effectiveness they want.
So like you mentioned, when it comes to cost, effectiveness and efficiency, most companies will look at that first, even before they look at the aspect of advertising a product. And traditionally we've seen even just putting up a billboard has been quote unquote expensive, depending on which organization you work for. Sometimes we've seen organizations that can buy the entire street and put up billboards, and others cannot afford to put up a billboard based on their, financial.
I'm thinking about politicians while you're saying that. Go on.
Financial constraints, yeah? So I think organizations need to take a step back and understand, first of all, their strategies and see, am I able to afford advertising traditionally above the line? Can I come here and pay Branji to advertise for me, my organization on this show?
Yeah.
Can I afford to put up a billboard? Can I afford to, run an entire ad on TV? If not, then what strategies can I put in place that will be effective and yet save on costs? So number one, we've spoken about influencer marketing. So I would say when it comes to social media marketing, digital marketing, people are embracing AI fully. It's like the AI can create the entire strategy for you.
Yeah.
However, how do we want to maximize on the effectiveness when it comes to our target audience? So for me, I think it's a matter of strategies. It's a matter of coming up with a strategy and what is the goal of this particular strategy that we're coming up with. So sometimes there's the high risk and high returns sort of thing. But then again, there's also the part where you can save on cost and maximize on something else. So if we can use AI generated images and do social media advertisements and spend less and reach a larger audience, why not? And if we have the money, if we've been able to advertise and we've generated revenue, then why not go out and now use influencers fully to advertise a specific brand? So I think companies can strike a balance, but this is just dependent on the strategies that they're putting in place and the objectives they would want to achieve.
Top of mind, Stan, do you know of companies that perhaps have come up with best marketing campaigns out of AI? Top of mind.
Top of mind?
Yeah, you don't have to mention the name of the company or just say you've seen an advert for something like this.
I've seen an advert for a leading telco in Kenya that has used AI-generated images and video in its campaigns, and it has won awards. It's captivating, and I like to say scientifically it's cool.
Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to get it right with traditional.
Yes.
I think what they've done is get a good merger of both.
Okay.
Get the more traditional approach and the very, very new AI-driven text and image generation that has actually, I think, helped them in many ways. Yeah.
So, way forward, I know influencers, advertisers, agencies, none of them can work without artificial intelligence. Of course, we've already debunked the fact that AI is here to take jobs. That's not entirely true.
No.
That's not true. So what's the way forward? Let me start with you, Ada.
So like I said initially, I think we need to use AI to improve on the things that we have been doing before. So we cannot negate the fact that technology is here to stay.
Yeah.
And the more we grow, the more technology gets even better and fancier. So we need to take advantage of technology to improve our ideas, improve on our strategies, and also just look at it from a perspective of social development, social improvement, so that we are also not losing our characters. As we focus on AI, we still maintain the humane aspect of who we are, even in terms of advertising. We still maintain the emotional intelligence when it comes to advertising. So we are not just being rigid and focusing on what AI generates, but we are also looking at what is the cultural aspect of it? How sensitive are we to the people to the societies within which we live in? So yeah.
Amazing. We can't live without AI, Stan. How do we adapt? How do we live with it?
So one good thing that we've done and you can do to be a good, let's use the most consumed one, ChatGPT creator, let's say, is to develop good, like high quality prompts. So instead of saying, how do I bake a cake? You'd like to give it more context and state the question clearly. Again,
how do I bake a black forest cake? Something of the sort.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you give it more context. So it's, again, boiling it down to two things, asking better questions and doing more concise, direct prompts. Summaries, yes.
Great. Yes. I know of lawyers who are drafting agreements and demand letters out of ChatGPT.
Wow.
Lady, gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for us on Takeover and for giving us this value. And there you are. If you're an influencer, you should not fear for your job. They've said you don't necessarily have to fear that all those Gen AI images are just here to augment what you're already doing, and so you just need to adapt. We've been speaking to Adam Okubi and Stanley Onyango, who are both communications, advertising, and tech enthusiasts. And that's where we wrap up for the first segment of the show. Thank you so much. We will be back after the short break. Don't go too far.
When you're finally released from pain. That moment when you start to get back to ordinary, and ordinary feels amazing. Whatever pain you're going through, release starts here.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo, wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Welcome back. You're watching Takeover, the show that discusses all things technology. Time now to know the innovator of the week. Here then is your segment for the startup of the week. Online ride-hailing taxi apps are not new to Kenya. By 2023, the National Transport and Safety Authority (NTSA) reported 14 licensed ride-hailing applications actively operating in the Kenyan market, with Uber and Bolt as the big players. Both are foreign. Kenyan innovators have taken competition to their doorstep, offering discounts to riders and clients while advancing cooperative driver rewards and commissions. The reality is commissions and driver take-homes are a real challenge, as recently witnessed in the behavior of drivers asking riders to go offline, potentially posing danger to the clients. Also, some go to the extent of demanding additional fares than quoted on the applications for the trips. These challenges inspired Ndai Africa founder Amedi Mwangi to develop a model that allows drivers to pay for the taxis while they drive and make a living.
We are playing the ball of financial inclusion. What you're doing, we are an enabler to the mobility entrepreneurs, or rather the taxi drivers, who are unable to access vehicles to be able to drive them and own them. Because essentially what you do, we buy the vehicles for the online taxi drivers. So we're enabling them to own these vehicles at the very end of the contract term. And also we don't ask for upfront deposits or any processing fees. But you see what used to happen, or what happens basically, is the driver never owns the vehicle. So what we do is we tell the driver, now we are going to help you own a vehicle. Whatever the amount you're paying your partner, come to Ndai, you pay the same amount, and at the end of the day, at the end of the 3 to 4 years, this vehicle is going to be yours.
One such driver who's benefited off this lease-to-own model is Leonard Kigo, who has plied this trade since 2020 at Ndai Africa's inception.
Nimefanya since 2020 up to the end of 2023, so that's roughly around 3 years. Since I started, haikukuwa rahisi because I was unlucky sababu tulipatwa na COVID just at the start of the year. But tumepambana tu, though it has not been easy, lakini tumeendelea tu vizuri. And kuliko kushinda una drive magari za watu and then disappointment za kukuitisha gari every other time. So at least here you're comfortable, you get to be your own boss.
With the reality of a tough business environment, financial institutions have been reporting an increase in repossession of taxis and other commercial vehicles. So we sought to understand the mitigation plan for the high exposure to default by drivers Ndai Africa puts itself in by this lease-to-own model.
When you look at the conventional banking institution or lending institution, it's very difficult for them to access credit. So we've been able to make it very easy for them to access this credit. And at the end of the day, get an employment, and at the end of the day, get a livelihood. So our impact we are measuring in terms of the jobs we've been able to create, direct jobs, and many indirect jobs, the livelihoods we've been able to support, the families which are able to handle decent livelihood from this kind of arrangement. I would say the biggest challenge we are facing is the fact that we have a huge wait list of drivers which have been able to vet and qualify. Talking numbers, we have more than 2,200 drivers who are on our waiting list. And we're looking for these funds.
The ability of digital platforms to create jobs is tied directly to the size of the market and the platform is able to serve. Kenya, like many African markets, is marked by low average incomes and high inequality. Ride-hailing firms grew the market for private taxis by dramatically cutting prices. That growth has limits. Based on data from Uber and questions we've raised, estimates are that 25% of Nairobians have used a ride-hailing service and only 11% do so regularly. Ndai Africa hopes to tap into the growing necessity for convenience in transport to scale the markets. And that's our startup of the week. Very well then, that's our innovator of the week right there. And one last segment before we close the show. Being a data privacy week, we are actually focusing more on data privacy, and this tech tip is equally around that. So here then is the tech tip of the week.
Hi, my name is Duncan, and this week we are going to be covering how you can keep your Instagram account safe and keep your data secure. There have been quite a few cases of Instagram accounts being hacked, so here are some tips on how you can keep yours safe. The first method is go to your Instagram, click on the three icons at the top, click Settings, go to Account Center, click Password and Security, then click Two-Factor Authentication. Click your Instagram account, and then you're going to see three options on how you can turn on Two-Factor Authentication. For example, you can click Text Message, then click Next, and if you have not added a phone number, you can add it right here. And now whenever you try to log into your Instagram account, a code will always be sent to your phone number for you to be able to log in. Another thing is your account might actually be logged into very many devices and you don't know, and this is risky because somebody can access your data. So you can fix this by going to Account Center, go to Password and Security, and then at the bottom you're going to see where you're logged in. Click that, then click your Instagram account, and right here you're going to see all the devices that are logged into your Instagram account. So if you see any that you don't recognize, click on it, and then click Logout and confirm it. And make sure that you only leave the devices that you actually trust. That's it for this week, and see you in the next one.
Very well, I think that's a fair point to leave it at. We've known the techniques of the week, we've discussed the role of AI in disrupting advertising and marketing, we've also known the tech tip of the week, and most importantly, the startup of the week. Fair point to leave it at. My name is Brian Jajatieno, always great hosting you on Takeover. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one, and may tech live forever.
Step up to more fun and get more than you pay for. Upgrade now and get boosted to the next package for free. Dial *423# or call 0711 066 000 and upgrade to the next level for free.
This is NTV.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to this live forum on NTV. And given it is the month to raise awareness on cervical cancer, that is what we're discussing this evening. I have quite the eminent panel with me, knowledgeable from different facets of things. And first, to a man who is no stranger to these studios, virtually and in person, Dr. Githinji Gitahi, who is not only the group CEO of Amref Health Africa, he is also, for the purposes of this conversation, the chair of the National Cancer Institute of Kenya. He'll be telling us a little bit about what they do, what their purpose is, but generally coordination, you know, oversight, putting it in a few words. And we also have in studio, you know, Benda. I was like, did I read it right? Is it Brenda or is it Benda? Benda Kithaka, and she is Kilele Health Executive Director, and she's also the lead Africa Cervical Cancer Alliance. Good to have you in studio as well. We have Zipporah Kalama, and she is a cancer survivor, and she'll be sharing her experiences with us and where the gaps exist, what needs to be addressed with urgency, and what gains from her experience have been made. And also in studio, Professor Omenge Orango, and he is a gynecologist. He's also oncologist, right? An expert as in the field of cancer. But I've been told, somebody whispered in my ear, particularly in the area of cancer that affects women. And he is also the chair department of OBGY, Aga Khan University, that is obstetrics gynecology, Aga Khan University. All right, and we begin the conversation with this, Dr. Gitahi. I read in my research that sub-Saharan Africa has the highest burden of cervical cancer. For those who may not be too familiar, though, my understanding, Prof, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, cervical cancer is a growth of abnormal cells at the entrance to the womb, the cervix? Correct. Okay. All right. So for those who may not know exactly what cervical cancer is, that is what it is. It affects, I said womb, so you know it affects women. And but before we get into the risk factors and all of that, this highest burden sub-Saharan Africa, what do you think that is about?
Well, thank you for having me here. And on behalf of the National Cancer Institute, which is a semi-autonomous agency of the Ministry of Health. And our role is, as you say, to coordinate, but also to advise the Ministry of Health on cancer matters and coordination, looking at quality of care and all those things. I'm glad Dr. Mwenge is here for all the clinical conversations. But as you've explained, cervical cancer generally, before I go to Sub-Saharan Africa, is the leading cause of cancer cause of death for women in Kenya.
Leading, I thought it was second.
It is second in terms of number of cases, but in terms of death, it kills more than breast cancer. Than breast cancer. Now, that statistic is not only in Kenya. Cervical cancer is also one of the leading causes of death for women across Sub-Saharan Africa, across the African continent. We say that 9 out of 10 cervical cancer deaths will be in low-income areas. That is Africa, Asia, South America. So it's not just about Africa, which tells you that actually is related to socioeconomic status, literacy, and availability and access of quality health services. Because those areas I've talked about are the ones in the world that have the lowest coverage of health services. So therefore, it is related to this system problem of low investment in health services, lack of access to screening, early diagnosis, people not getting what they need at their primary healthcare center. So that is why the continents that I've talked about have the highest burden. Number two is that, and I'm sure Doc will add, is that there are other risk factors that are associated with cervical cancer. HIV is one of them. So continents and communities that have a high incidence of HIV will also have a high incidence of cervical cancer. But for this conversation, I would like to limit it to low health investment, not being able to get women to be screened on time at their nearest location and put on treatment. Therefore, low screening is actually, I would say, the largest factor in causing Sub-Saharan Africa to have the highest burden of cancer deaths, cervical cancer deaths.
Low screening. Low
screening and poor early diagnosis and poor putting on treatment. The screening rates in Africa are very, very low. In Kenya here, you know, you look at people who've been screened the last 3 years, if you ask, you know, spot checking, maybe Doc has better statistics, I would say 7 to 10% of women would say have been screened in the last 3 years, 10% or less than 10%. Now the target is 70%.
Yes.
So you can see how far we are. And when you're not screened, it means you don't know. Even the number of cases we announce, which are probably slightly above 5,000 a year, new cases, are underestimate because we don't screen. We don't screen people. And people finally end up in hospital, not because they're going to be screened, but because they have symptoms. By the time you get symptoms, you're talking about late stage, in which case then your treatment is more complicated. This is why cancer deaths in Africa are so high, largely because of the failure of the health system, which is related to the socioeconomic status and also the low investments in health services. Maybe the final point to close is, when we talk about low investments in health services, it is related to the affordability of our tax base. If you look at Europe, they spend 400,000 Kenya shillings per person per year on health services. Yeah, 400. 4,000. Yes, 4,000. Yeah, about 500,000 per person per year on health service on average. Here in Kenya, it is 4,000 per person per year. When you average the total amount that goes to the health services and you divide by the population, you're talking 4,000 versus 400,000. So there is low investment generally, and that's across the continent of Africa. So that is part of the contributor, which means you can invest in screening and early diagnosis and nurses and doctors and oncologists and all these other systems that are needed to actually reduce the burden. So those are the complexities other than the other risk factors I talked about, like HIV.
Okay, and we'll come back to access and equality, because this administration is keen on UHC, universal health coverage, and preventive care. So you advise the Ministry of Health, you said so yourself, as the National Cancer Institute of Kenya. So where this is concerned, what advice are you giving? We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Prof, there's something Dr. Gitahi raised, and that is what does HIV have to do with cervical cancer? Because I was reading an article that was actually published on your website, the Aga Khan University, and they talked about HPV, that 99% of cases of cervical cancer are caused by the human papilloma virus. They mentioned two specific strains, 16 and 18. Now, HIV again.
Okay, that's a good observation and a good question. Cervical cancer, virtually all cervical cancer is caused by infection with a virus, human papilloma virus. So we know that that is what causes cervical cancer. This is a sexually transmitted infection that is very rampant. It's very common. It is estimated that by the age of 50, about 80% of women would have been exposed to human papilloma virus. So it's a very common virus in circulation. There are those that cause cancer, the human papilloma virus that cause cancer. So they are called high risk because they cause cancer. There are those that cause other things, but they are not cancer. It's called low risk. So the 16 and 18 you mentioned are the leading causes of cancer. So human papilloma virus there are many, over 100 subtypes that cause that infect human beings, and so out of the many, about 100 or over, the 16 and 18 cause over 70% of the cancer of the cervix. But there are others that cause that. So there are about 12 or 14 subtypes that cause cancer of the cervix, but the majority are then 16 and 18. What happens is that majority of the women would clear, human beings would clear HPV from their circulation. Many of the women get infected at the start of their sex debut. So they will get it, they'll clear it within 2 years by their own immunity. The people
it takes 2 years to clear the system?
Yes, on average.
Okay.
So they clear it. The ones we get worried are those who get infected, but it persists over time. So one gets infected, and by 4 years, 5 years, it's still there. So what it does, it then manipulates the cells of the cervix and stops them from growing the normal way. You know, we shed cells from our body every day, every so often, and new ones grow. But if this infection goes into the cells that regenerate, but then it stops them from growing normal, they become abnormal. They start growing without stopping. That's what a tumor is. So it causes that on the cells of the cervix and starts growing abnormally. And therefore, that's how cancer comes in. The HIV-infected women, you asked how now?
Yes.
Their immunity is not as good, and therefore they are not able to clear HPV as people who are immunocompetent, as people who are not infected. And therefore, we know for a fact that HIV-infected women will have the HPV persisting for longer. They will have multiple high-risk HPV types, unlike the HIV uninfected people. And therefore, because of that, they will tend to get the tumor, the cervical cancer, at a higher rate than the HIV uninfected. So that is really basically the reason why HIV infected would be at higher risk than HIV uninfected. But by and large, in terms of absolute numbers, of course, the HIV negative women, because they are more than the HIV infected, would be having cancer of the cervix. But if you were to look at the proportion of HIV infected women with cancer as opposed to the proportion of HIV negative women with cancer, the HIV infected ones are overrepresented because of that.
Okay. Well, Benda, I'll come to you now. There's a screening that Dr. Gitahi talked about, because my understanding is this is an entirely preventable cancer. Absolutely. If you get the vaccine, if you go for screening, regular screening, and the prof will tell us what is regular for which subpopulation. And so, you know, you can treat the precancerous lesions. If it's caught early, it has a success. You can treat it successfully. But are there other factors that contribute to women in sub-Saharan Africa not accessing screening services other than access?
So I will go back to what Dr. Gitahi spoke about. He talked about socio-economic situation that we have in sub-Saharan Africa, that would lead the woman not being able to access these services. And that comes to health system strengthening.
Oh, sorry, and the reason I asked her that question is because she works in the communities. Community
Yes, I
advocacy.
do.
So,
yes, I do. So working with communities, one of the reasons why we see women not showing up in good time is actually fear and stigma, okay? And I'll explain that. If we are saying it's preventable, we're saying easily accessible, the HPV vaccine is available here, it's free of charge. We're saying we have screening modalities that are available here, but only 7 to 10% are taking up that service. Then you can imagine the ones who are presenting late stage will be presenting when they have the signs and symptoms, when they have invasive disease. And the ultimate is we find many of those women do not make it to their 5-year survival rate, okay? And that is the saddest bit. Now, in our communities, we are socialized not to talk about death. Secondly, we are socialized not to discuss things that would potentially bring about death. And cancer has been seen as a death sentence. Yet we know cervical cancer is not. And even most cancers are not death sentence if discovered early.
But you know, I usually say, I would not wish cancer on my worst enemy. And the reason I say that is because it's so expensive to treat. And then most times it's got late.
And we'll talk about that. But if you consider the fear and the stigma that I'm talking about, it's even what you're speaking into. That late diagnosis leads to invasive treatment modalities, leads to death in the family, leads to impoverishment. Because if, as a mother, I'm going to think about my children being left without their caregiver because of fear of cancer, I will say but that which I don't know about. But what we are here as the community advocates, activists to bring about is that women need to change that paradigm. We need to change that perception completely to get women to understand that we have the power to prevent cervical cancer. One, it's a procedure that takes about 15 minutes in the doctor's office, and I'm counting 15 minutes from when you get into the doctor's office to when you get prepared for that screening, if it's a pap smear, to when you actually finish getting the sample taken and dressing up again and leaving that doctor's office. 15 minutes of discomfort, if there is, and yet women are dying of a disease that's preventable. Secondly, we also have screening with self-sample collection, okay? Again, fear and stigma, because we have not invested as the health system enough in that preventative model, and it's still new to many women, self-sample collection. In the privacy of your bedroom, in the privacy of your washroom, you could easily take your sample, drop it off somewhere, and get screened and know whether you have the high risk that you was talking about. So the fear and stigma, I tend to say sometimes it's unfounded. However, even as we're talking about fear of cancer, stigma of cancer, it's also about what Dr. Omenge spoke about. We are continuously hammering it that it's caused by multiple reinfection with HPV, which is sexually transmitted. And yet we know, because it is so common.
Wait, when you say multiple reinfection, you mean multiple sexual partners?
That's one of the risk factors, but I want to demystify that for everybody. It's not that the woman has been promiscuous or unfaithful. It could be that her husband or her spouse or whoever has had sexual relations could potentially have had multiple partners. They bring that HPV to that marriage. So instead of stigmatizing women and bringing fear to the woman, we're saying let's focus on what we have control over. Control over is vaccination for our girls before they get into having intimate relations. If we do so, we're helping them prevent. It has been proven in Canada, it has been proven in Australia, Germany, and other countries that are high developed, that if you vaccinate girls today, in 15 years, we'll see less of cervical cancer in this country. Secondly, educate women.
I just want Zipporah to comment, because she can speak from personal experience on this. And there's some significant things you said, which I'll ask Dr. Gitahi to also come in on, which is, you said it's free, the vaccine.
Yes, it's free.
Where can whoever is watching take their daughter or their sister to get this vaccine? And then also you talked about self-sample collection, because the idea of going to his office to Zipporah, labda utueleze ulikuwa diagnosed na cancer lini na ulikuwa umeenda screening au?
Asante kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Kwanza wacha nishukuru Mungu kwa kunifikisha hapa leo.
Amina.
Nilikuwa diagnosed 2019 March nilikuwa niko na bleeding, continuous bleeding for over 2 months. Sasa nikienda hospitali ninaambiwa ni early menopause. Nikienda hospitali ninaambiwa ni early menopause because I was more than 45 years. Sasa nikaenda lakini bleeding haishi. So nikaendelea kutibiwa, nikaenda kwa CT scan. Wakanambia ni inhormonal balance. Bleeding haishi. Napewa dawa, bleeding haishi.
Na sasa umeenda CT scan?
Nimeenda CT scan. Alafu ndio nikaona bleeding haishi. Ndio sasa nikaenda nikaona afadhali nifanyiwe screening. Sikuchelewa, nikafanyiwa screening pale Kilifi Hospital. Sasa ndio nikaambiwa niko na cervical cancer. From there nikaanza matibabu pale
Mombasa. Vile uliambiwa uko na cervical cancer.
Yes.
Ulisikia kama roho yako imeshuka au?
Nilisikia I am a mother of 2 boys. I love them. Mahali walipo wananiona. Ninawapenda. Nilikuwa ninafikiria tu ndio nikifo hivyo. Ndio nimeacha watoto wangu hivyo. Watoto wangu watakana naye. Lakini nikajitia nguvu, Mungu akanitia nguvu, nikamove. Nikaenda sasa kwa treatment pale KCH, nikawa referred kwa Mombasa Cancer Center, nikaenda kuanza chemo pale. Kwa sababu nilikuwa nimeanza bleeding kwa muda mrefu, HB yangu ikawa imeshuka sana to 6. So sikuwa naweza kufanyiwa chemo. Nikafanyiwa
transfusion. HB inamaanisha nini?
Damu yangu ilikuwa iko chini, kiwango changu cha damu kilikuwa kiko chini. So nikafanyiwa transfusion, nikaanza chemo. Nilienda 5 sessions of chemo, then nikakuja Nairobi nikafanyiwa radiotherapy. 20 sessions of radiotherapy. Shida ya matibabu ni ghali. Because
nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, ulikuwa na NHIF au ulikuwa na
nilikuwa na insurance. Lakini sasa insurance itakulipia nusu, then hiyo nusu ingine unajaliza mwenyewe. Haiwezi kukulipia matibabu yote ya session moja. So ukienda kwa session wanakulipia nusu.
Tuseme kama chemotherapy. Ulisema ulifanya session 5?
5, yes.
Moja ni pesa ngapi?
Around 40,000.
40,000.
Yes.
Kwa hivyo unatoa kwa mfuko 20,000. Na hii 5 sessions unaenda kwa muda weekly.
Yes. Mara moja kwa wiki, it was on Friday.
On Friday.
Yes.
Na walisema lazima uanze
immediately kabisa, immediately. Sasa nilichelewa kwa sababu ya HB yangu ilikuwa iko chini. So nikachelewa kidogo hapo mpaka nikafanyiwa transfusion. Halafu niko blood O negative. Ambayo si rahisi kupatikana. So lakini nikafanya bidii nikapata. Nikawekwa na nikaanza chemo. Sasa Mombasa kukawa hakuna radiotherapy. Sasa ikabidi nikuje na
Ngoja,
Mombasa yote kulikuwa hakuna by 2019. Yes. Nilikuja nikafanyiwa hapa Nairobi.
Ikabidi tena uingie kwa mfuko
nikuje Nairobi. Yes.
Nikafanyiwa
hizo 20 sessions of chemo, of radio. Sorry.
Wait, 20?
20. Yes.
So 5 chemo, alafu tena 20 radiotherapy.
Daily. Radio is daily.
Na hiyo session moja mpesa ngapi? Hiyo 2019 ilikuwa 10,000.
Yes, that time ilikuwa 10,000.
Unalipa nusu.
Unalipa nusu. Insurance haiwezi nilipia yote. Kwa sababu insurance yangu, job group yangu iko chini. Yes. Sasa ni mfuko alafu uongezewe. Nikaenda for the 20 sessions za radio. Nashukuru Mungu nilimaliza vizuri. I was very healthy. Hata ulikuwa ukija pale kwa radio, ulikuwa huwezi fikiria, nilikuwa niko na sistangu hapo. Sistangu kidogo ni Muslim. Mimi kidogo niko healthy. So hata ulikuwa ukifikia pale kwa radio, unaweza fikiria yule sistangu ndo amekuja kwa radio. Because nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu sikulose hata weight hata. Niliendelea na hayo matibabu mpaka nikamaliza vizuri. Nikarudi Kilifi, nikaendelea na shughuli zangu Kilifi.
Uko clear sasa, uko sawa?
Niko sawa. Naendelea pale Mombasa Hospital, kila mwezi naenda kwa kliniki pale Mombasa Hospital.
Haya.
Kuona daktari pale.
Kuna
daktari Riaz pale.
But thank you for sharing your experience, Zipporah. Nataka tuchukue break kidogo, lakini tutarudi na nyinyi wote.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
Lakini vile hii ekonomi imetufinya, ilinibidi kubadilisha sabuni nikatumia ingine rahisi. Bala, ilibidi nioshe kila kitu mara mbili. Sikuwa na otherwise, nikarudia Ariel.
Ariel, usafi bora kwa mwosho mmoja tu.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optivan family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optivan. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optivan. Panda tukupandishe on Go Entertainment this new year on Go TV. Bila kulipia extra. Furahia the best sports, international shows na local shows una like free. Download Go TV stream. Go TV. Love it.
Thank you for staying with us. We have a live forum on cervical cancer. The purpose is to raise awareness, which is also part of the mandate of the National Cancer Institute of Kenya. We have the chair in studio, Dr. Githinji Gitahi. So there is a target the World Health Organization set. 90, 70, 90 by 2030. 90% women screened. You mentioned that earlier because you talked about 7% in sub-Saharan Africa. The target is 90 by 2030. 70% vaccination. Then 90% in terms of the treatment of the pre-cancer lesions and the management of cervical cancer. Where are we as a country?
Well, we are far. We are far. As I said earlier, screening is 6-7% depending on what you're looking at. If you look at longer, maybe 5 years, 10 years, there'll be more women who will say yes. But if you look at a shorter period, what you call recency, then maybe 3 years, you have lower numbers, about 6-7%. When you talk about vaccination and HPV vaccination, which I would like to emphasize and re-emphasize is the most important investment that we can make. I saw a study today, I think from Ireland, that says that they tracked women who got their HPV vaccine at 12 years, and they have not seen evidence of any cervical cancer in that cohort. 0. So HPV vaccination is the most important, but has to start early. We have to start early. So the study was talking about 12 years, okay? We have to start early. Why so? Because as Doc said, it's about the HPV virus. Now you want to develop the immunity before you get the virus. You don't want to give the vaccine to somebody who's already infected. It's kind of a waste. The efficacy is very low. This is the reason why we emphasize on actually giving it to school-going children. Early on, 12 years, 13, 14, by 15, actually you should get 70% of 15-year-olds vaccinated. And that we saw pushback by certain communities sometime when this was introduced in 2019. And we must re-emphasize to our people that we are talking about lives and health. And lives and health are also God-given. And knowledge is God-given. So we can't push back and put lives at risk and have communities that are told by some other communities that don't allow your young children to be vaccinated because they're not sexually active. They will be. And you want them to actually be vaccinated before they become sexually active. That message must be sent, and because of that message not having seeped through, and because of that early opposition, today the Minister of Health, the Cabinet Secretary of Health, Susanna Kumicha, was in Taita, and she was talking again about this, and we're talking about how to actually ensure we have HPV vaccination centers across the counties and pushing through so that girls are vaccinated. Now, the importance of this is that when you do that, all these costs that Priscilla is talking about, Zipporah is talking about, disappear. You don't have to, to do all these tests, all this brachytherapy, all this radiotherapy, chemotherapy. We can actually achieve, and that 90-70-90 strategy is for cervical cancer elimination.
Yes.
We can eliminate it from the face of Kenya completely if we allow our children to be vaccinated. We are working as the National Cancer Institute with the Ministry of Health, with the Ministry of Education, because school-going children are part of our biggest cohort. But whether to vaccinate them in the school or in the public facilities or in private, that is within the strategy. There is something that Bender said, that this vaccine is free, completely free. Right now, Kenya gives 2 doses. In other areas now, WHO now is saying we should move to 1 dose. There's, Omenge can talk about that and what evidence available, but we are now moving from 2 doses to 1, but for Kenya, it's still 2 doses, okay? This is the biggest investment we can make. Now, let me talk about very quickly about why this is important. We have said that we as a country, because of our economic base being low and our tax collection being low, we cannot afford to chase cervical cancer treatment with money. We can't afford it. You've heard. The best investment we can make today is 2-pronged. 1, vaccinate every girl by 15, achieve 70%. Secondly, invest in primary care screening. Not level 4 and 5, not the big hospitals. Invest in ensuring that women are screened at primary care, and they are screened and treated. Not just screened and told, go now, look. Because the navigation journey, I'll tell you that women who come to the hospital at stage 3 and 4 will tell you, and we've heard from Zipporah here, they have been, on average, those that studied, they have visited a health facility 6 to 7 times. Can you imagine? We had here that the first treatment that she was given when this continued was a CT scan. Nobody, for goodness sake, decided to do a pap smear. Nobody decided to do a vaginal examination. We have a problem of over-medicalization of our health system. I met a lady the other day, she told me she was pregnant, she had no idea. She went to a facility with swollen leg. She was admitted for 2 weeks, she was told to go home. Nobody had done a pregnancy test. Nobody had asked her when her last menstrual period was. So we have to go back to the basics, which is why the strategy on community health promoters is important. The strategy on ensuring primary health care networks in the counties is important, but that's not only enough. You must ensure the money shifts from the high-level hospital, secondary, tertiary, and a significant part of it goes to ensure when you go to a dispensary, which is level 2, you go to a health center, which is level 3, you can get a pap smear, you can get cryotherapy, you can get those basic tests that are needed for cervical cancer, that identify it and treat it at that facility at the pre-cancerous level, are what we need to invest in. Not to wait to invest in cancer centers and then wait for the women to come and then we spend millions on this money. We should shift the money to prevention.
Makes sense. Sorry, Benda, you have something to add to that?
I would actually say don't just take it to the facility, take it to the community.
He talked about the CHPs.
Yes, take it to the community and get that infrastructure so well connected that the woman can actually be able to test, to screen at her home or even as close as possible, so that we're not having to tell women, stop what you're doing to go get screened at the facility. Some of them are caregivers. They are in running small businesses. They are running their life. We should make it so women-centric that women can actually prevent cervical cancer at the touch of a button. That's how easy it should be.
All right, so we need to take a break for the news highlights. But Prof, when we come back, several questions for you, including, so one of my questions was tonight was, is there a less invasive way? You've already talked about the self-sample collection. Also in terms of vaccinations, how far have we come? Because I know we've talked about the 7%.
That actually, if you look at double dose, the 2 doses, it's about 33% so far. But if you look at many of the children, no, it's about 16% double dose, because the people who come for the single dose, many of them fall out. They don't come back. Facilities are far, challenges of transport, community connectedness. So when you look at
also, which is why the
vaccination,
WHO is pushing for the 1 dose.
Exactly. So we end up with only 16% if you look at double dose in Kenya.
All right.
Very low.
WHO is not pushing because people are falling off. It's because of the evidence that was generated by research that shows that 1 dose is as efficacious, that it is successful as if you give 2 or 3. So let it be that people don't think we are pushing poor medicine for poor people. No, it is that there is evidence, and Kenya was part of the study fields that contributed to the study that now strongly advocates for single dose.
Yeah, but the policy for Kenya is still 2 doses for now. But that's where the science is going.
So we'll take a break, but we'll come back with my panelists on the other side.
And we need 2 Royco cubes because iron gives you strength to skuma yourself to be the best you can be.
I trust Sunlight 2-in-1 washing powder to give my clothes a sensational clean and an uplifting fragrance. Sunlight. More than you expect.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
This is NTV.
Tonight, no sign of War Memorial Hospital. Nakuru County government takes hospital battle a notch higher days after a hostile takeover. Also tonight,
saa hii tumeanza square one. Hakuna chochote hapa. Watoto wetu wako chini ya miti, walimu wako chini ya miti, hakuna ofisi, hakuna chochote.
El Nino aftermath. Learners sitting on stones under trees in Tana Delta. Plus, Nairobi's revenue collection system. Governor Johnson Sakaja and MCAs in a push and pull over the city's billions. And
na alitoka tu nyumbani akiwa ametumwa dukani, lakini hakurudi. Akagojea na nyanya yake akakosa kukuja.
Anaonekana alikuwa anajidefend, but huyo mnyama juu huyo sio mwanaume, huyo ni mnyama. Amemtenda kitendo na akaacha kama amemua.
Another missing woman and a dumped body. Who will stop the killings? Kiambu in mourning.
Stay 5 degrees cooler.
Body odor is caused by germs, and on active days, the sweating and odor are more. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool with up to 5 degrees instant cooling sensation and odor protection. Be Dettol sure.
Who is a true partner? They go out of their way to help you. They do not hesitate to go the extra mile. And they're always there standing beside you. They step in when you need them the most. Because a true partner is a partner kwa ground. KCB Bank.
Panda tukupandishe on Go Entertainment this new year on Go TV. Bila kulipia extra. Furahia the best sports, international shows, na local shows unalike free. Download Go TV Stream. Go TV. Love it.
All right, we are raising cervical cancer awareness this evening. And Prof, I have a couple of questions for you. So first of all, if I get the vaccine, because there's a case study that Dr. Gitahi referenced from Ireland, do I also need to go for regular screening? And what is regular screening? Because the WHO guidelines are between, what, 35 and 45, at least 2?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you have been vaccinated, do you still need screening? Yes, you do, for the following reason. Remember that we've given you a vaccination. The vaccine that we have initially started with the quadrivalent. The ones quad means 4, covers 4 types. Now there is the one that is nanovalent, covers 9. But remember, I said that the high-risk HPVs are up to 12 or to 14. So we may have given you a vaccine and you're protected, but who knows? The other minor that were not the majority, the leading in causing that, who knows? Once the immunity comes up, we might start seeing other subtypes causing cancer. The good thing is that the Scotland study that came out on 22nd of this month, that was published, did say that they followed those women, and in that cohort, nobody has had a cervical cancer. Beautiful. Then it means that possibly there is cross protection. Cross protection meaning you have immunity against the ones that you are vaccinated, but you also have immunity against the other ones because they did not see any breakthrough cancers. So yes, it is possible that in the long run, we might realize that once you have been vaccinated, you don't need screening. But the knowledge we have, the information with us now, it does make us say, yes, you'll be vaccinated, but you continue having screening. Screening, vaccination and screening are 2 tools that we have that are very important, that we need to emphasize. Vaccination, remember in our country we're only vaccinating girls. By the way, the boys also need to be vaccinated. The most successful, like the Scotland that we are quoting, vaccinate both boys and girls.
Really?
Remember, HPV does cause other cancers other than cervical cancer.
Yes.
Today we are talking about cervical cancer, but the other cancers, they are head and neck cancers, they are anal cancers for the men who have sex with men, and for head and neck for both men and women. And therefore, as we fight against cervical cancer, we don't want to see a situation where then there is a blow up of the other cancers that are associated with HPV, and yet we have the ammunition of vaccination. So in reality, we should avoid this argument by countries that want to spend little, that, oh, let's give the vaccine to the most affected. Because cervical cancer is killing so many women, let's just give the girls. The boys, there's not too many rectal or penile cancers that we are seeing. We are seeing more head and neck cancers. And so if we leave these boys behind, we will have another battle of cancer that we would have otherwise used the same vaccination, same strategies, and reached to both. So vaccination is very important and key for this war. Screening. Remember, there are women who may not have gotten the vaccine. So this cohort of women, we'll have to screen them throughout. And therefore, we will still have to combine vaccination and screening. I want to go back to what we said about screening. We've talked about self-sampling. Remember, self-sampling is for you to test the high-risk HPV. However, there are even other cheaper strategies that have been there.
Really?
Visual inspection with acetic acid.
Oh, okay.
Just putting vinegar. The regular vinegar in the supermarket, 5% vinegar that we use, just apply it on the cervix, and the nurse or
at
a medical
health
Kenya
facilities,
yes.
Please, people,
Yes.
people who know what they are doing.
Yes, no, yeah, in the health, not at home. I'm saying at a health facility, by a trained person to do that.
Yeah.
They apply for a minute or so. They look. If there is a problem, it turns white. If there is no problem, it's okay. If there's a problem and turns white, that person has a gadget that has been given called cryotherapy or called coagulation, which they put on the cervix. It freezes it for 3 minutes. It has killed those cells that will become cancer. The National Cancer Institute has partnered with other providers, other developing partners, and has provided those gadgets in many facilities in the country. We want to talk about rocket science, but we know that we have other things that we can easily use. They are there. We want
There's
to urge our
no
women.
blood test, because to be honest with you, even me, Prof,
No.
as I sit here, you tell me I go to a doctor's office and expose myself essentially
So
to a stranger.
Think about what she said. If you actually get the cancer, what does it really mean to your loved ones? What does it mean to the little children that you leave behind? Evidence available suggests that a child whose mother dies never gets full potential of what they would have gotten in life, both growth-wise and what they would have achieved in life. If your mother died when you were in class 5, for example, it's very unlikely that you would be at the position which you are in. So you can imagine the ripple effect death of one mother does to the children, to the society, and the cost of treating cancer itself. But if you went there and you are seen and something is picked early, you save this country money, you save your family the trouble. Remember that when a woman has invasive cancer, there are many things that happen. She's exorcised because she can't attend chamas, she can't go to church because she bleeds, she smells. If you walked to Kenyatta National Hospital, for example, and you blindfolded me, take me to the cancer, the gynecological cancer ward, I'll tell you I've arrived. Why? There's a characteristic smell. That thing dehumanizes you. A woman with invasive cancer of the cervix dies a dejected life, a very dehumanizing life. Do we have to do that now? No. Why don't we borrow from countries that have done things that work and we know they work? Why are we hiding our heads in the sand? Because that's how things are done? No, we can change.
Okay, and just for public information, you talked about the foul-smelling discharge, you talked about the bleeding, pain in the lower back, in the pelvic area, but usually in the initial stages, the pre-cancerous lesions, I read there are no symptoms, and that's why screening is so critical.
Yes.
Okay, and sorry, just one more question, Benda, to Prof. You've heard these stories. Zipporah says they did a CT scan for her before somebody thought to do a pap smear. Was it a pap smear? No, it was a vaginal exam. Dr. Gitahi has talked about a pregnant woman, swollen feet, hospitalized for 2 weeks and nobody tested for pregnancy. These doctors you are training.
So let me tell you. That is her case is a typical case where the system, the healthcare systems, failed a patient.
Yes.
And we have replicated that many times. This is cervical cancer, but there are other conditions that we've replicated the same, where, as Dr. Gitai said, somebody spends a lot of money by the time a diagnosis is done. What is the reason? He said we've medicalized the system, and we think by having high-end technology, cutting-edge technology, is when we fought cancer. I remember very clearly when a PET scan was installed in one of the institutions in this city. It was said they have as a machine that fights cancer, which is a lie. A PET scan, for example, helps you monitor a patient once you've found that they have cancer and you've treated them. Having high-end technology like PET scan is not what will clear cancer in this country. Simple things. Screen these women with acetic acid. Do pap smears. Vaccinate the girls with the HPV vaccine. Not the high-end technology. High-end is a good feel thing. We agree. You then start saying, oh, we are developed, we are like Europe, we are like... That's lying. The basic, even Europe that has reduced their instances, they started by screening. They have a good system of screening, tracking patients, encouraging them to go for care, take your blood pressure, simple things that prevent.
And Dr. Gitahi has been singing this song for the longest time. Benda, you wanted to add something before we each comment briefly on way forward?
I want to bring the attention to men as well. You know, we are continuously talking about the woman, the girl, the woman, the girl, and we are forgetting that men also have a role to play, and not just men, but the entire of society approach to cervical cancer elimination. Because when we talk about community engagement, we're saying here men are in positions of leadership. Most of corporate Kenya has quite a number of men in senior positions, yet we find that in private sector women are not also going for screening, yet their insurances can afford it, they can be able to afford that treatment if they get caught early. And yes, we're still finding women in corporate Kenya that have invasive cervical cancer. So men need to take leadership positions as well. As we're encouraging women to go and get screened, let men provide an enabling environment. Let me put it to you. Most places of worship are led by men. Most places in the community, the chiefs, the different areas of administration, where they have the ability to bring as many people together as possible, they're led by men, isn't it? So men need to be educated that cervical cancer is not just a woman's disease. When that woman loses her life, the society has lost a pillar for the family, for the community. And therefore, men need to be invested in this conversation as well. Okay. In leadership positions, at the community, in different places where we can talk to women about screening, let's talk to men about enabling environment for women to be screened, including providing resources. For example, many women will tell you, I needed to ask for permission to go for screening from the man in the household. Let the man know this is not a question of discussion or bargaining. This is, my woman needs to be screened, okay? And not just the woman in my household, my sisters, my cousins, my friends, my relatives, every woman, and therefore every man has a responsibility. And this is an Africa-wide conversation because fear, stigma, taboo topics about women and reproductive health, all these are conversations that need to be had by both the head of the family as well as the women in the community, and getting our girls vaccinated as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've already touched on some of the way forward, but if there's one message you would not want to leave this studio without passing, what would it be? For example, Dr. Gitahi, the Institute talks about the cancer strategy is centered on research, some of the interventions that you're proposing moving forward to the Ministry of Health, data-driven.
Yes. I think a lot of the conversations we've had here are actually data-driven. Mm-hmm. The question is how specific and context-specific is the data, meaning that we have to do our own research, which is why we are happy that we are working with universities and KEMRI and others. We have to do our own research so that we, even as we pick the research out there, we have to contextualize it. So that's what the National Cancer Institute is doing. I think this week we are launching actually a call for grants, for research grants for different people. And some of the areas we are looking at is why do we have such poor HPV vaccination penetration? We are looking at local data, so we are generating that. Secondly, we are using this data to inform the development of the UHC policies and strategies. We know now that Kenya is moving from the National Hospital Insurance Fund to the Social Health Authority and Social Health Insurance Fund. We have input into that strategy to say, for example, pap smears were never covered by NHIF. True, Benda? Mm-hmm. Now, they were seen as routine tests. Can you imagine? Yet, a prostate test for man was considered covered because it's not routine, yet it should be routine. Every man should go for PS. It's just a poor understanding. So now we made sure that things like screening are now part of the Social Health Insurance Fund. They're going to be covered. And we see that as a good movement forward. So data is important for us to inform our UHC strategies. And that's what we're investing in. But we are not doing the research ourselves as NCI. We are coordinating the centers of excellence that exist, either private or public. The most important thing is that we have data for our people that the government can use to shape policy for the betterment of Kenyan people.
All right. Zipora, na wewe kama kuna kitu tu moja ungetaka kuambia watu leo?
Ni mbili.
Mbili, aha.
Naomba uniruhusu niongee mbili.
Lakini kwa kifupi?
Kwa kifupi. Naomba serikali iongeze hizi hospitali. Because kama ni Makadara peke yake in Mombasa ndio inafanya radio, ni wamama wangapi watafanywa radio kwa siku moja? So ni vizuri pia serikali iangalie katika zile hospitali zingine kama vile Malindi, kama vile Kilifi, waweke chemotherapy, waweke radio. Kwa sababu hata mama anaposcreeniwa akipatikana ako na cervical cancer, je, ataenda wapi? Kama hana huo uwezo wa kumove kutoka kule aliko mpaka Nairobi, wacha apate matibabu katikati ya yale maeneo anayoishi. Halafu japo la pili, nataka niambie wamama wapime. Ukiacha watoto wako kama mama, kama hujapima kansa ikubebe, unaacha watoto katika hali ngumu sana. Kama vile daktari ambavyo amesema, mama ni kiungo muhimu sana katika jamii. So ninataka ni emphasize on that, na pia niseme kama unaishi na virusi, kuwa priority kupima kansa ya kizazi.
Aya. So naomba msamaha Benda and Prof, please allow me to close because the news must start on the dot, Benda.
I have a challenge for you.
10 seconds.
This conversation should not only be a January conversation.
All right.
This conversation with the media so that you can reach more people all year round.
So a challenge accepted. All right, with me in studio we've had Dr. Githinji Gitahi, National Cancer Institute of Kenya Chairperson, Professor Omenge Orango, who is a gynae oncologist, chair department of OBGY, AKU, Ms. Benda Kidhaka, who is Kilele Health Executive Director, lead Africa Cervical Cancer Alliance, and Zipporah Salama, cancer survivor.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo, wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optiven family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optiven. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optiven, Optiven.
This is NTV.
Tonight, our memo is a call to sobriety, a demand to fidelity to the rule of law, and a firm reminder that leadership is such an integral part of society that any misstep could cause a huge trip. It is very dangerous to have a country's top leadership breathing even a hint of disregard to the law and to be dismissive of court orders
when there is a clearly laid down way of going about disagreement with pronouncements of the judiciary. When we have the Kenya Kwanza administration asking, or rather demanding, that the judiciary supports the president's plans, are we asking them to cede independence, to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the law and the illegalities that have been committed in the matters before them? Are we saying that our judges should bend their way around justice so as to allow the executive's plans to be executed? If they do so, they will be executioners of key pillars in our nation's foundation, the law and constitutional order. Now, one may be mistaken to think that the assault on the constitutional order ends at the country's top leadership or the political class, dismissing whatever and whomever is against them. But that is not the scope of the worrying trend that's being generated. It is only the siphoning of anarchy. What happens if Kenyans all decide when to obey or disobey court decisions based on their preferences, demands, and plans? Imagine a country with more incidents of rowdy gangs running the streets, unmoved by the fact that there are laws. Imagine a Kenya where women, children, and even men are openly, physically, and sexually abused because the perpetrators are not going to let a good law get in the way of an insatiable evil. Or a country where women are being killed, partly on account of their vulnerabilities and refusal to do what their abusers demand. Their cries seem to fall on deaf ears as the president, the man who is meant to be the father of the nation, remains mute on the same for days. Imagine a country where children throw stones at their caregivers and insult them because they're not allowing them to do what they want, despite it being against the rules of the home. Now, you may not need to imagine, as some of these are already our reality, yet we're still on the safe side of the anarchy discourse. Mr. President, may we never get there. Do not play any part in making such things become normalized. You seek to justify your intentions to proceed with illegality by arguing that you made a commitment to the people of Kenya when they appointed you to office. But remember, this commitment is not in the context of a wild, unbridled space. It is a commitment vowed through the sanctity of the Constitution, the very one which you vowed to uphold and protect. President William Ruto held a meeting with the top leadership of the judiciary, led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, and the legislature, represented by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula. The statement released indicated that the leaders of the arms of government will obey court orders. With the statements made by various leaders in the Kenya Kwanza administration, is this alleged commitment to be interpreted as a promise to only abide by favorable court orders? This is not to argue that there are no rogue elements in the judiciary, for indeed there is proof that the halls of justice have harbored lords of injustice. This memo is simply saying that the law of Kenya must be respected and upheld. Let nobody, regardless of who they are, create a hell on earth for a country for future generations. That is the memo.
No sign of War Memorial Hospital. Nakuru County government takes hospital battle a notch higher days after a hostile takeover. Also tonight,
saa hii tumeanza square one. Hakuna chochote hapa. Watoto wetu wako chini ya miti, walimu wako chini ya miti, hakuna ofisi, hakuna chochote.
El Nino aftermath. Learners sitting on stones under trees in Tana Delta. Plus, Nairobi's revenue collection system. Governor Johnson Sakaja and MCAs in a push and pull over the city's billions. And
na alitoka tu nyumbani akiwa ametumwa dukani, lakini hakurudi. Akagojea na nyanya yake akakosa kukuja.
Anaonekana alikuwa anajidefend, but huyo mnyama juu sio mwanaume, huyo ni mnyama. Amemtega kitendo na akaacha kama amemua.
Another missing woman and a dumped body. Who will stop the killings? Kiambu in mourning.
Live from Nation Centre, this is NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Thanks very much for joining us tonight. Flora Atieno is our sign language interpreter. Now, the Nakuru County government has taken the war over the War Memorial Hospital to another level. There is no longer any sign of the hospital after the gate to it and all signage indicating the location of the hospital were painted over. Despite numerous court orders barring the Nakuru County government from interfering with hospital operations, the county continues to blatantly disregard the orders, leaving the fate of over 300 employees and an unknown number of patients depending on the facility hanging in the balance. Established in 1921 in honor of those who died during the First World War, the Nakuru War Memorial Limited secured a 99-year lease to operate the facility as a hospital. Well, NTV's Ruth Samwe looks at the history behind the ownership battle of the private institution that has served the community for over 100 years. We'll bring you that story shortly in this broadcast. To another top story, a simmering row over the control of City Hall revenue billions is now threatening to split the Nairobi County leadership. Members of the Nairobi County Assembly have hit out at Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja following his move to entrust 9 KRA officials with the task of managing the Nairobi Revenue Service system, which the MCAs want scrapped, claiming it is not foolproof and that the county could be losing billions of revenue through it. Well, Sakaja has, however, refuted the claims and plans to go ahead and regularize the KRA NRS arrangement, as NTV's Sydney Chazima reports.
The Nairobi County government's decision to continue using the Nairobi Revenue Services, the revenue collection system that existed at the time of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services (NMS), continues to split opinion and the county leadership as well. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, while taking the reins of power from the NMS, stated in confidence that Nairobi County would then take over the revenue collection system. But the confidence was soon met with the reality that no alternative revenue collection system had been designed as yet by Sakaja's government, which then meant the county had to rely on the NRS for some time. But the system was bedeviled by countless downtime errors and other shortcomings that posed a challenge on tax and revenue remittance to taxpayers and business people. Following the numerous complaints, Sakaja sought the help of KRA and drafted a letter to the Revenue Authority, through which he was able to secure the services of 9 senior KRA officials, a move the MCA's claim was done without the approval of the county's assembly. The MCAs now want Sakaja to lay bare the modalities of the arrangement with KRA, adding that it could be a conduit pipe for revenue losses, claiming that no one knows who operates the revenue system and where it is domiciled.
As a system of finance, are you aware of where our servers are? No. Have you not seen the color of those servers? No. The place where they are kept? No. The chief administrator, have you ever met him? the current chief administrator of this system. Have you ever met him as a CC Finance? Who is
I'm not going to know
the power to protect our resources?
I don't know who the chief administrator.
You don't know. Have you met the PS for ICT to discuss on the system NRS before? Where the narrative surrounding its domicile in ICT. Have you met the CS, the PS?
Yes, we've had one meeting with the PS. It was a courtesy where we agreed that going forward we should have technical teams to...
Did he confirm to you that he's the one hosting our system?
I didn't ask him that.
Sakaja has denied any wrongdoing and insists that the KRA-NRS arrangement is devoid of mischief. Nairobi County's Finance CEC Charles Kerich affirms that the arrangement will be publicized soon. But it appears that the arrangement to host the 9 KRA officials running the NRS system outside the City Hall still remains a mystery.
Confirm you have not yet paid any rental for any officer outside the county government?
I confirm, sir.
And there's no any framework towards that so far before your desk?
None has been to your attention.
Minority leader in the Nairobi County Assembly, Anthony Kiragu, has laughed off the claims, adding that those opposed to the NRS arrangement are being driven by ulterior interests from business people in the revenue collection sector. Sources who spoke to NTV intimate that a section of the MCAs are pushing for the reinstatement of Jumbo Pay, which was scrapped in 2019, while others are in support of mobile service provider Safaricom. In the last 6 months, the county has collected 3.6 billion shillings compared to 2.6 billion shillings in revenue in the 2022-2023 financial year. The ad hoc committee investigating the issue is expected to present its full report before the floor of the Nairobi County Assembly next week. Sydney Chazima, NTV.
Now, a fact-finding mission at several health facilities by the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Health has revealed shrewd operations by owners of health facilities and lack of proper medical equipment. The Joy Nursing Home owner, for instance, admitted to having pocketed 400 million shillings from the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, between 2021 and 2023. NTV's Brian Mushiri was on that fact-finding mission and now reports.
The National Assembly Departmental Committee on Health, led by NDBES Member of Parliament Robert Pukose, was on a fact-finding mission to medical firms implicated by an expose on NTV in June last year dubbed "We Still God Heals," that highlighted hospitals that have for over the years fraudulently acquired fake medical claims from the national insurer. The legislators went to 3 health facilities located in Eastleigh, namely Beirut Hospital, Amal Hospital and Joy Nursing Home. It was at Joy Nursing that the ownership of the hospital was available for comments and a conversation with the legislators. The Level 4 facility has only 21 beds against the required 30, each for male and female, dilapidated and dirty toilets, no electricity, only 1 microscope and no emergency exit, all far below par. The owner there, Kennedy Otieno, backed by his wife Immaculate Atieno Otieno, who has a diploma in nursing, asked the members of parliament to go find out from the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists, Dentists Union, KMPDU, how they got their license and accreditation.
I mentioned earlier that our license has been suspended. The license is for both the inpatient and the outpatient and theatre. The license is one. So if it has not been reinstated, do we want us to operate illegally without a license?
Otieno says that the hospital grew from a chemist he started at the same spot in 2006. He was further hard-pressed to explain how the hospital with 21 beds was able to generate NHIF insurance claims to the tune of 400 million shillings and perform and deliver hundreds of surgeries in a week, minus key equipment, and as a matter of fact, was expecting some 78 million shillings from the insurer.
The amounts you have been paid by NHIF, you didn't see the need to improve on your facility to match the amounts you are getting paid by NHIF.
So they need to improve.
Otieno, however, said that the NHIF's Lee branch quality assurance officers visited the hospital before granting them NHIF accreditation, despite knowing all this.
We never received any official communication. What the communication that we have, they gave us a form to fill the amount they owe us. And we told us to email back, and then we file us the copy. That's all.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, during inspection findings, upheld the facility license be suspended. Brian Mushiri, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, well, from that, we shift focus to a tragic story now. And the body of a 20-year-old girl who went missing from her home 2 weeks ago has been discovered in Kinare Forest, that's in Kiambu County. Her family says there were clear signs that she was sexually assaulted before being murdered. Our reporter Martin Mwaura with that story.
The 20-year-old is said to have been sent to the shop by her grandmother 2 weeks ago, never to be seen or heard from again.
Alipotea wiki kama 2 zilizopita. Alitoka tu nyumbani akiwa ametumwa dukani, lakini hakurudi. Akagojea na nyanya yake, akakosa kukuja.
After the girl's body was discovered in Kinare Forest, Lari, Kiambu County, the family positively identified her.
Lakini naona kama ni kurepiwa juu hana hata nguo. Tunaweza kutaka tu tuchunguziwe ni nani ambaye aliua mtoto wetu ili haki yetu itendeke.
Residents want the government to look into ways of making the forest inaccessible.
Juzi tulikuwa na kijana mwingine aliuliwa kwa ile boma, aliuliwa. Wakati huu kuna mwingine ambaye ako hospitali na ako kwa ICU Kenyatta. Juu ya hii kamsitu. Ukitembea hapa ndani utakuta suruali ya wanawake imejaa hapa. Nguo za wanawake za ndani. Kwa hivyo hii kamsitu huwa kanatuletea shida.
Nimekasirika sana juu tumekuta mtoto ameuliwa hapa na ni vibaya sana. Wanaume wamekosea sana. Wanastahili wachukuliwe hatua kali juu ya hii maneno.
Tunaomba serikali ikuje itusaidie sisi, hii miti yote yenye iko huku sisi hatutaki kichaka. Tunataka kulima, hatuna mashamba. Watoe hizi miti. Hii sio kesi ya kwanza. Hii msitu imekuwa ya kutembea unyama, unapata mtoto mdogo, mara ukienda mzee, mara ukienda kijana. Watu wa Kariba tunasema tunataka haki yetu.
Lari Police Boss Adamson Furaha says they have launched investigation into the incident. Only yesterday, the body of a 60-year-old woman was found in a coffee plantation in Kirinyaga. On Saturday, women and human rights activists held protests in various parts of the country to protest the rising cases of femicide. Martin Mora, NTV.
All right, it is time for a breather, but first, delayed national identity cards, dehumanizing treatment in hospitals, pensioners dying in penury, and kickbacks starting tomorrow and every Tuesday. The Daily Nation, Nation.Africa and NTV will bring you the experiences of Kenyans seeking services in the corridors of power and what the officials we trust to manage our public affairs say about this sad state of affairs. All that tomorrow. It is time for a break on this broadcast. Now coming up.
Nenda Ukunda mfano badala ya kusitema hapa ferry direct Ukunda watumia kama dakika 15 abiria atakuwa shafika.
The mega bridge project conceived 4 decades ago finally set to kick off.
Welcome to the Delight Nakuru, brought to you by Username Investments. Perfect for your dream home, investment for holiday home, going only for 799,000 shillings for 1/8 of an acre. SMS Nakuru to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
Welcome to IG Sacco, where your financial journey meets cutting-edge convenience. Say goodbye to queues with our CRM service. Manage your accounts, inquiries, and more, all from the comfort of your fingertips. Introducing the IG Sacco mobile app, your pocket-sized branch. Transfer funds, check balances, and enjoy a seamless banking experience on the go. Explore our comprehensive website, a one-stop hub for all your financial needs. From loan calculators to detailed information, it is all here at www.igsaccolimited.co.ke. Need a loan? Our website features a handy loan calculator. Estimate your borrowing potential and plan your repayments hassle-free. Because at IG Sacco, it's not just about banking. It's a journey, our investment, our growth. Join us today. IG Sacco, where innovation meets your financial goals.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion? Smoothness, scent, glow. Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
It's Friday and things are looking a bit boring. Fanta. Submit to the fizziest of fizz. Surrender to a bubbly bliss. Fall for the tangiest of tangs. Succumb to the flavor frenzy. Fanta. Indulge with a sip and smack.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optiven family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optiven. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optiven, Optiven.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwa star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa match namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako. Safi. Na mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Zote ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Buka na shake.
Welcome back. The Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council will now form a subcommittee to iron out issues on the release of funds by the Treasury to the counties. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua chaired the 22nd ordinary session of the council Monday morning. The Council of Governors has raised concerns over the delayed disbursement of funds to the counties by the National Treasury. According to the COG, the Treasury is yet to release funds to cover the period between November last year and this month. The governors are proposing an equitable share revenue of 439.5 billion shillings out of the 450 billion shillings proposed.
wish to emphasize our commitment to the timely disbursement of funds to counties. We are nearly up to the date for December 2023. Despite this, I strongly urge you to fast-track payments of pending bills. Indeed, we should not be having pending bills for the last financial year. Prompt payments for goods and services releases funds to our business people and spurs economic growth, especially the hustler nation, for a better and vibrant economy. Let money circulate.
Kaunti 33 ambazo zina maktaba ambazo zinafanya kazi na kuna mshahara wao ambao haujatufikia. Ukiangalia tunapokanda katika makavadhi ama museums, pale pia nao unapata kwamba ni jambo ambalo limegatuliwa lakini fedha zake bado hazija. Kwa hivyo tunapendekeza na tunaitisha na tunasema kama counties bilioni 450 ndizo zinatosha ili tukaweza kuendeleza kazi za county pasipo na shida nyingi.
Now, it is a project that was conceived 40 years ago. Now it is finally set to commence. The 13.2-kilometer long Mombasa Gate Bridge. Construction will begin after the Kenyan government inked a deal with the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The project was to kick off back in 2021, but faced several setbacks. Our Coast Affairs reporter Kevin Mutai has details of the mega piece of infrastructure, which will be the second longest bridge on the continent after the 6th October Bridge in Cairo, Egypt.
In December 2019, Japan International Cooperation Agency announced a loan agreement with the Kenyan government of up to 47.8 billion yen, equivalent to 53 billion shillings, for the construction of the Mombasa Gate Bridge. And on 10th of January 2024, Transport and Infrastructure Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen inked a memorandum of cooperation with JICA, endorsing the project. From the island city, the bridge will start on Lumumba Road near Kingurani Prison, rising gently to cross over the Mombasa railway station, then overhead Moi Avenue to the west of Cannon Towers. It will then proceed overhead Ganjoni, turn right to Liwatoni, and cross the Likoni Channel to enter the Likoni mainland side. The bridge will descend, touching down near the Javi Lawageni Primary School in Likoni, from where it proceeds as a 4-lane highway to cross Mtongwe Road before joining the newly constructed Mombasa Southern Bypass at Ziwani area.
So ukiwa nenda Ukunda mfano, badala ya kusitemu hapa ferry, direct to Ukunda watumia kama dakika 15 abiria atakuwa shafika.
Myself as a person, when I think about going to Likoni, the ferry just kills the whole morale of going. So it is a good project if and only if it will materialize, because that's the question.
The design also allows for a 4-lane carriageway meant for motorized transport and a single pedestrian passage. A clearance of 69 meters above the highest water level will be provided to allow for the highest vessel to enter and leave the port of Mombasa. The main bridge will be 1.3 kilometers, while both the island and Likoni viaducts will be 1.4 kilometers and 650 meters respectively.
So naomba kwamba wazingatie tu ile mambo yao ambayo walituahidi wakati ya kampeni kwamba wakitujengea barabara kama hiyo wasitutoze ushuru wote.
The multi-billion shillings project will lead to the displacement of more than 3,200 people and affect transport infrastructure, for instance, Moi Avenue, Machakos Road, Lumumba Road, Mnazi Moja Street, as well as the new and old Mtongwe Roads in Likoni. Power distribution infrastructure, sewer and telecommunication lines, fish landing sites, and even 7 public schools within the island and mainland side will also be affected. 3 public cemeteries will also be impacted.
We've gone through this process for the longest, I think over 10 years. They've come, they evaluated, they disappear. They came again, I think, in 2022. We were called at the DC's office. They took our numbers, details, everything. They disappeared.
833 commercial business enterprises, including permanent buildings and temporary structures, will not be spared. Majengo area within the island accounts for the bulk of displacements at 597 businesses, 401 rental houses, and 171 food kiosks.
compensation should have started anytime from June of last year. Until today, there's been no communication. The only thing we see is reports on the newspapers, and we have no idea what is happening. At the same time, we were told we can't sell our property because the data has been taken. So we're just there. We don't know what's happening. We're just in the dark.
According to a feasibility study report, a total of 8.7 billion shillings had been set aside for compensation, most of the money channeled to the resettlement of genuine landowners and other contingency costs. It has, however, been established that only 82 landowners along the project area are legal, while 168 are encroachers. Reports indicate that some of the ferries will be moved to serve Mtongwe Crossing Channel, with a plan to refurbish other vessels for use in the tourism excursion and recreational activities in the Indian Ocean. The government also decommissioned the 2 billion shillings floating bridge in Liwatoni, citing interruptions with the ships calling the port of Mombasa. In total, the Mombasa Gate Bridge project will be 13.2 kilometers long, inclusive of the approach roads. The bridge was first conceived in 1984 as the Likoni Crossing Plan, but has taken 40 years to actualize.
Mombasa Gate Bridge will facilitate efficient transportation at the ferry crossing channel in Likoni, rendering congestion a thing of the past. But combined with the Dongokundu bypass, it will not only be a game changer in the coast, but the entire East African region. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Mombasa.
Right, from that, let's bring you a reminder of what you can expect tomorrow. Delayed national identity cards, dehumanizing treatment in hospitals, pensioners dying in penury, and also kickbacks. Well, starting tomorrow and every Tuesday, the Daily Nation, Nation.Africa and NTV will bring you the experiences of Kenyans seeking services in the corridors of power and what the officials we trust to manage our public affairs say about this sad state of affairs. All that tomorrow. Now to our top story, and the Nakuru County government has taken the war over the War Memorial Hospital to another level. There is no longer any sign of the hospital after the gate to it and all signage indicating the location of the hospital were painted over. Despite numerous court orders barring the Nakuru County government from interfering with hospital operations, the county continues to blatantly disregard the orders, leaving the fate of over 300 employees and an unknown number of patients depending on the facility hanging in the balance. Established back in 1921 in honor of those who died during the First World War, the Nakuru War Memorial Limited secured a 99-year lease to operate the facility as a hospital. Well, tonight, NTV's Ruth Samwe looks at the history behind the ownership battle of the private institution that has served the community for over 100 years.
This has for years been the welcome sign to the hospital, the gate clearly labelled. But that has now changed. There is no sign of a hospital anymore after any indication of a hospital here was erased through painting just days after a hostile takeover by the county government. Since independence, the Nakuru War Memorial Hospital operated with ease, serving its patients for tens of decades until October 2023, when service delivery within the hospital was disrupted after the Nakuru County government took over the running of the hospital over alleged unlawful lease renewal. In a notice issued on October 27, 2023, the county indicated to have taken over the management of the hospital as the custodian of public land following the degazettement of the lease title given in the name of Nakuru War Memorial Hospital Limited on May 19, 2023.
That had been given.
According to Samuel Maura, the Nakuru County Secretary, the original lease title was acquired by the Nakuru War Memorial Hospital Trust, which had representatives from the government on its board, and upon its expiry in 2021, the trust had been converted into a private limited under unclear circumstances.
Ownership has always been the name of the company. At one point or another, the directors and shareholders of the hospital had invited government officers to be part of the directorship. At one point, the provincial medical officer used to sit. Of course, after devolution, that seat was no longer there. So all these are the rumors that at one time it was owned by the government. It has never. In fact, we are in court and we have told them to bring the slightest evidence of ownership by the government. They have none.
The county further stated that it turned down their request to extend their lease in 2019 because they wanted it to remain as a public facility. Following the move, the institution took the county to court, where Nakuru Environment and Lands Court came to the rescue of the hospital by releasing a temporary injunction on October 31st, restraining the county, their employees, servants and/or agents from dealing, entering, remaining and carrying out all other unauthorized activities on the land, as well as interfering with the running, operation and activities of the hospital and facilities. There was a return of normalcy at the facility, but only for a short while, because on January 20th this year, 2 directors of the hospital and 3 other individuals were apprehended by DCI officers.
By law, the county government is required to give an okay before any lease is extended or renewed, because public interest takes precedence over private interest. And in the Perisua document, we saw that there was an attempt to do an application which was declined. And later, and we did supply the media with those documents. It emerged that they had some documents. I think if you went through them, you saw they had issues. And therefore, our complaint was purely based on evaluation and assessment of the documents that were in our custody.
The 5 were charged with 12 counts relating to forgery of land documents after spending the weekend in police custody. County enforcing officers would later be sent to man the hospital gates, where patients seeking services at the facility were turned away, and the officers have remained on site today. On the morning of January 23rd, the county broke into the hospital, chasing away staff present at the facility and transferring admitted patients to other hospitals, forcefully taking charge of the facility despite the October order barring their interference. On the same day, hospital management ran to court again, and this time, the Nakuru County Police Commander was instructed to oversee the removal of county forces on hospital land and allow the resumption of services at the facility. The Nakuru County government too was cautioned against contempt of court. But on the 26th of January, during the mention of the said case, the county police boss was issued with fresh orders wanting him to oversee the resumption of services at the facility, but that is yet to be seen. Just days after the orders requiring the Nakuru County government to vacate from these premises and allow the hospital management to resume their duties, the hospital gates have been painted concealing the name of the facility in total disregard of the court orders. With the case up for mention tomorrow, the court is expected to give the way forward after it indicated that the Nakuru police boss would be required to appear in court and explain why he has failed to implement the orders 2 times. Ruth Sarmoi, NTV, Nakuru.
Explanatory and was correct. The first link of the order.
All right, from that, we shift our focus to the business news that is coming up in a moment with NTV's Nina Shaban. Here's what you can expect.
As a matter of priority, all unemployed persons are required to register their skills data on the National Skills Inventory.
Local and international employment opportunities for skilled individuals.
Welcome to the Delight Nakuru, brought to you by Username Investments. Perfect for your dream home, investment for holiday home, going only for 799,000 shillings for 1/8 of an acre. SMS Nakuru to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
The moment I feel my pain starting to fade, it's like I'm going back to myself on a really good day.
Panadol Extra releases you from strong pain. Panadol, release starts here.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo, wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Here are the stories that are making headlines in the world of business. My name is Nina Shivan. Good evening. All employers in the public and private sector have until the 16th of February 2024 to submit their annual employment returns to the National Employment Authority so as to constitute a skills data of employed persons. This is one of the roles the government has tasked itself to ensure a comprehensive mapping of all available skills in the market be undertaken. Other steps include registration of skills of unemployed persons and registration of skills on demand by all employers in the private and public sector. The State Department of Labour and Skills Development, together with other state departments, has rolled out a digitized national skills inventory, and through a link on the Ministry of Labour website, Kenyans can now fill in details in regards to their skills. The link is aligned to the National Employment Authority Integrated Management Information System, where data shall be mined to provide information on the supply of skills in the country. According to a poll by InfoTrack Research and Consulting that came out exactly a week ago, 73% of Kenyans are currently facing severe economic hardship situations and are struggling to make ends meet.
Priority. All unemployed persons are required to register their skills data on the National Skills Inventory. In this regard, the State Department for Internal Security and National Administration shall play a critical role in mobilizing the youth to register their skills on the system.
The Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs is reviewing the Cooperative Societies Act and Circle Societies Act in a bid to safeguard members' funds. These measures come after the government cited challenges by the Kenyan Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, that's KUSCO, that included the inability by the union to discharge fixed deposits as they fall due and the diversification into non-core activities.
We are reviewing the Cooperative Societies Act to enhance governance in both primary cooperatives and cooperative unions. We also provide for disclosures of companies related to our unions, empower audit committees to enhance self-governance, and give more clarity to the mandate of unions and federations to avoid undertaking businesses outside their scope. We are also reviewing the Circle Societies Act to provide for regulations of unions taking deposits and how deposits are invested. Operationalization of Deposit Guarantee Fund to ensure a shilling in a circle is as safe as a shilling in a bank. And finally, is to provide for shared services platform so that circles with excess liquidity can support circles who could be in need of overnight lending or short-term cash.
In other news, more than 400 informal settlement schemes in the country are set to benefit from a 31.7 billion shillings multilateral donor project designed to provide locals housing and general infrastructure improvement, among other crucial amenities. The funding has been given out by the World Bank, that's committing $150 million, or just about 24.1 billion shillings, and the French Development Agency with 43 million euros, or 7.6 billion shillings, and is expected to address key guarantee provision of infrastructure, water, lighting, and social inclusion in 33 counties. The upgrades will be effected through the second Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project, that's KISIP 2, which is designed by the World Bank and seeks to enhance land tenure security and improve infrastructure and services such as roads, drainage, pedestrian walkways, and water connection. KISIP National Project Coordinator George Arwak explained that the project further seeks to link beneficiaries to socio-economic opportunities and build the capacity of national and county governments to develop and implement slum upgrading and prevention policies and strategies. And on our last story, fresh produce exporters in Kenya are staring at higher costs and delayed market access as retailers from the European Union step up bans on air freight to reduce their carbon emissions. Several giant retailers in the EU bloc have cut back on air freight to source stocks such as fresh fruit and vegetables for their stores, a measure aimed at reducing the carbon emissions associated with the transport of fresh produce. The Fresh Produce Consortium, FPC, said that exporters are, however, struggling to meet the tighter checks due to lack of locomotives to transport their goods through the standard gauge railway. Well, that's just about it for Business News tonight. My name is Nina Shaban. Smriti will be right back with more stories.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optivan family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optivan. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optivan, Optivan. Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion?
Smoothness, scent, glow.
Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo. Wacha tu.
Now available in the 850 ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Welcome back. Learners from Imani Primary School in Garsen, Tana Delta have been forced to learn under trees. The pupils sit on stones and their teachers share blackboards after their school was destroyed by floods. Our reporter Gabriel Kudaka has the story of determination by the learners and teachers amid the harsh learning conditions.
These are learners at Imani Primary School, and it seems the money the president is referring to was either too little or the government is not aware of existence of such schools altogether that were affected by the floods.
Na tumetolewa na maji kutoka kule mpaka tumekuja hapa. Saa hii tumeanza square one. Hakuna chochote hapa. Watoto wetu wako chini ya miti, walimu wako chini ya miti, hakuna ofisi, hakuna chochote. Tunataka kuuliza serikali yetu ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Tunataka waje wakimbilia hii mahali, shule yetu ya Imani. Watoto wanahangaika, walimu wanahangaika.
This shade under the tree in an open space is what these learners call classrooms. They have been learning under this condition since schools reopened after they were displaced from their school by the raging El Nino rains.
Sisi tunaomba Machogu akimbia aje hapa na yeye aje ajionee vile wanafunzi wanateseka, wanahangaika na walimu wao. Tafadhali, hiyo tu sisi tunaomba.
With inadequate infrastructure in place, some teachers are forced to share limited resources such as this black wall under a shade, even as they take their learners through different lessons from the same blackboard. The learners faithfully take in instructions, notwithstanding distractions from other teachers.
Baadhi ya vitabu zetu tulizokuwa tunatumia zimeenda na maji, zimeharibiwa na maji. Zingine bado ziko katika hiyo shule ambayo imebomoka. Kuzitoa kule kuleta mpaka hapa inakuwa ni changamoto kwa sababu kule hakufikiki. Kuna sehemu ambayo maji yanapita na inabidi uigie maji ya magoti kwa sababu hatuna dau ya kufika kule.
The population of the learners has since dropped.
Wanafunzi wamehama hapa, wameenda shule zingine kwa sababu ya shida ambazo tuko nazo hapa.
It is not just the learners who are feeling the pinch in their quest to acquire education. Teachers have to make do with this shed as their temporary staff room. The safety of their teaching aid is not guaranteed either. Teachers are worried that the situation could pose a health hazard.
Maisha yetu yani permanent. Tunakaa hapa permanent kabisa, hatutarudi tena kule majini, hatuwezi tukarudi kwa sababu ni hasara tukienda kurudi na kuja. Tunaomba pia serikali hizo shule ambazo ziko pale, tuko na building nzuri, mabati kule imejaa kila kitu. Tunaambia serikali waiongoe, wailete hapa ili sisi tujenge tuishi permanent hapa kwa sababu hatuwezi kurudi kule tena. Pia tunaomba hii shule yetu haina maji. Tunaomba tanki za maji serikali ituletee hapa, itujengee. Hatuna vyoo, hakuna chochote hapa. Tunaomba serikali wailete kila kitu hapa, kila ambacho kinafaa.
The representative of the area MP Ali Guyo has called on the Ministry of Asal Development to help in the construction of schools to ease the suffering of learners.
Mheshimiwa ametake initiative, saa hii ameanza the 2 classrooms. So saa hii CDF naye haiwezi jenga from class 1 mpaka class 8 kwa sababu inaenda na budget. Na budget tayari ishafanywa. Hii ni ile pesa ya emergency fund ndio ilikuwa inafanya kazi. So tuna insist national government, department ya Asal. Hii ni county ya Asal. So department ya Ministry of Asal wafanye haraka iwezekanavyo ifikie watu wa Tana River. Watu wa Tana River saa hii almost 50 schools. Ya hii watoto wamekuwa displaced, hawana mashule. Saa hii hapa idadi ya wanafunzi ni almost 600. Na wanafunzi wanasoma chini ya mti. Kwa sababu na chini ya miti watoto wanakaa nyumbani wanakosa masomo.
Meanwhile, learning has to go on. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
Those hardships take us to our next breather, and we are changing gears now in this broadcast. The sports news with Bernard is coming up. Here's a little bit of what you can expect. Former national champion Karan Patel plans to scale down on the number of races this season.
To the Delight Nakuru, brought to you by Username Investments. Perfect for your dream home, investment for holiday home, going only for 799,000 shillings for 1/8 of an acre. SMS Nakuru to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
when you're finally released from pain. That moment when you start to get back to ordinary, and ordinary feels amazing. Whatever pain you're going through, release starts here.
Warembo, ni nini muhimu kwenu mnaponunua body lotion? Smoothness, scent, glow. Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothed. Na fragrance nayo, wacha tu.
Now available in the 850ml pack.
Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwa star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa March namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Zote ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Buka na shake.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optiven family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optiven. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optiven, Optiven.
Hello there, it's time for the sports update. Good evening, I'm Bernard Ndong. Africa Rally Championship champion Karan Patel has intimated that he might compete in select races in this year's Kenya National Rally Championship season owing to budgetary constraints. Speaking at the Kenya Motorsport Federation Awards last weekend, Karan, the 2022 Motorsports Personality of the Year, revealed that he is readying his wheels for the Easter WRC Safari Rally, but was skeptical about racing the Kenya RC with only 2 sponsors on board. Karan's sentiments on sponsorship were echoed by the defending KNRC champions, the Chana brothers, Jasmeet and Ravi.
Well, we are not planning to take part in the KNRC because of the limited budget we have. We plan to save our resources for the Africa Rally Championship. However, Waziri has really pushed us to take part in KNRC, so hopefully you know, we do get some sponsorship and get funded to do the KNRC and remain champions in Kenya and Africa.
But like I said, we're appealing to corporate sponsors out there to recognize our 15 years and our dedication on winning every championship. We would like to go into the WRC this year, and we would like corporate sponsors to come on board and support us.
Joroge Kibogo and Frank Matilo, who are both members of the Muthaiga Golf Club, are on top of the leaderboard after the second round of the Safari Tour at the Muthaiga Golf Club. The duo achieved an impressive 139 gross, putting them in a tie for the first position. The closely contested second round witnessed Kibogo and Matilo navigate the Muthaiga Golf Club with relative ease. They are now at the forefront of the tournament, setting the stage for an exciting climax in the upcoming rounds. Samuel Njoroge of the Railway Golf Club is positioned closely behind the leaders. The ultimate winner of this prestigious event will be unveiled on Wednesday and will walk away with a grand prize of 150,000 Kenya shillings. Now let's focus on the African Cup of Nations. The match between Cape Verde and Mauritania is currently underway. Of course, these two teams are seeking a spot in the quarterfinals. They are playing the last 16 clash. But elsewhere, defending champions Senegal entertain Ivory Coast from 11 p.m. Kenyan time. While surprise packages, Cape Verde, as I've mentioned, will be claiming hopefully to make more headlines. The group But I know I mentioned the game between Cape Verde and Mauritania. Well, it has actually concluded, and Cape Verde has beat their opponents by a solitary goal, and they have progressed to the quarterfinals of the African Cup of Nations. Well, that's it for the world of sports. Thank you so much for your time and attention. My name is Bernard Ndong. Remember, I'll still be in studio and on the show tonight on Sport when we are focusing on motorsport.
Plenty to look forward to on Sport On, but from myself, Smriti Vidyarthi, it is a good night. Thanks so much for watching. Flora Atieno has been our sign language interpreter. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
This is NTV.
Step up to more fun and get more than you pay for. Upgrade now and get boosted to the next package for free. Dial *423# or call 0711 066 000 and upgrade to the next level for free.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
New Nivea Luminous visibly reduces dark spots. Does it really work? Trust me. For post-acne marks too? Of course. World's #1 anti-spot expert serum, now for post-acne dark marks and age spots. Visible results in just 2 weeks. That means also for my age spots.
I'm running out of time. I don't think you really know. Not enough time for you and me.
The baby I'm expecting is yours.
You better start telling yourself that I am not going to give you a single cent.
This is your child.
Why were you looking through my computer files? Who else saw them? Answer me.
Your grandfather. That's the reason why he had a heart attack.
Have you seen the old man? Yes, the best thing could happen is for him to die.
What did you just say, Rodrigo?
You heard me.
Head over heels.
Join the Optiven family today and experience the epitome of coastal living at Ocean View Ridge, Vipingo by Optiven. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Optiven, Optiven.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the County Government of Mombasa, Department of Health, is set to commemorate the World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day and launch of the Kenya National Master Plan for the elimination of neglected tropical diseases on 30th January 2024 in Mombasa County, Tononoka grounds. The World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day is a global movement grounds. The World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day is a global movement to end neglected tropical diseases, and this year's theme of Unite, Act, Eliminate calls for renewed attention from global and national stakeholders, political will and resources to accelerate the control and elimination of neglected tropical diseases by 2030. Catch it on NTV, 30th January at 9:30 a.m.
The pressure and expectation on Bayern Munich to win never eases. Even after winning 11 straight Bundesliga titles, the expectation and the pressure never lessen. They only go even higher. But as Bayern Munich strives to make it an even dozen titles this season, perhaps the pressure and expectation have become too much.
And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
How you like me now? 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 How you like me now?
wanasema Finley aligonga mpira. Ikagonga windscreen ya gari.
Alright.
Akamfungia mtoto kwa nyumba. So after that tukajibishana hiyo.
Akaniambia hii mkebe pia ni kitu ya kuringia. Kina hiyo mkebe ndio ilimsaidia usiku wa manane.
Hawezi linganisha mtoto wangu na gari.
So alichukua hatua ya kwenda kuripoti kwa polisi ati nimekidnap mtoto wake.
NTV, turning on your world.